Oh yeah, first indeed, Toddy. Welcome. Hello, Lisa. Thank you for joining. Sorry the thumbnail for this stream looks like crap. They just took my whatever you call the YouTube banner and made it a thumbnail, which it's not supposed to be. Welcome everyone. Oh, how are you guys all doing today? Yeah, it is a little bit weird. I'm trying a new format. I'm gonna start doing some live streaming, and hopefully that's a way that I can review some of these police interactions without, going through the whole hardcore like research aspect of it. Oh, I feel you, Josh. Dying in this muggy Georgia heat. I think everywhere in the southeast right now is probably feeling about like that. And you guys let me know if I'm being too loud or if something's up with my audio or anything like that. Welcome 5x5 News. Thanks for being here. Eric, can you turn the Civilian Rights Handguide into an Audible book? Yes, I do plan on doing that. I was actually in talks with my narrator recently about how we would go about doing that, because obviously, he would be the first choice as far as people who I would pick to narrate it. But we're still working on that. But I promise it'll probably be pretty soon whenever we get that going, but I'm sure you guys will know. Well, watching from the Netherlands to see how you hold up. Probably not going to hold up well. I don't know. People have high expectations for this kind of stuff, so we'll just see. And thanks for watching from the Netherlands. That's pretty sweet. My house is a bit of a mess. Yeah, to be fair, this is just my office, not my entire house looks like this. This is my workspace, so it's kind of, a mess. Is there an app version of the book? No, there isn't, but there probably should be, because I guess technically there is, because you can use the Audible app, or I'm sorry, the Kindle app to read the book, and it basically functions like an app. You can look up things on the fly. You can do like a search for what exactly you're looking for. Honestly, if I were you and I were to buy the book, I would probably buy it in a digital format. And I say that it actually doesn't make me any money at all, really, when people buy it in a digital format. But I think it's the better platform because it's so easily searchable. Like if you happen to be pulled over and you're trying to recall something from the book, right in the middle of a police interaction, then it's probably best if you can just search for what you're looking for, or look at the appendix and tap on a certain spot and it'll take you like straight to that chapter. So if you're thinking about buying the book, probably get it in a digital version if you can. if you like if you just want the novelty of having a book, then yeah, you know, pay the $15 or whatever it is. Amazon's always changing the price, so I never know. All right, let's kind of get into what we're here to do today, which is look at some police interactions. So yesterday I posted this on the John Lang Posts, whatever the fuck it's called now. I used to be called Community, now it's Posts. I don't know. It's difficult to keep up with YouTube's crap. YouTube is not receiving enough video. Is everything looking okay? I'm getting a warning from YouTube saying that YouTube is not receiving enough video. Is it still cutting out? Stream health is poor. It's working fine. Looks fine. Cool. All right. Well, I'm going to continue. If you're having trouble with the quality, like what DJ Toddy said, try selecting the quality manually, because a lot of times when you select a live stream, the quality automatically goes down to the lowest setting, and that's just a stupid quirk that YouTube has. But all right, ladies and gentlemen, so I posted this post, and you know, John Lang, the channel interaction is kind of confusing to me sometimes. You know, every now and then, sometimes I post something or do a video that does really crazy. I mean, let's just look at the discrepancy here in viewership from this video. 1.4 million views. I mean, nothing else on this channel is even close to that. I don't know why this video went crazy. I mean, I think this is a good amount of views for 100K. I don't know. I haven't been at this spot in a long time, so it's hard for me to tell. I can't tell if this channel is doing good or not right now. But either way, we're making content for it. This is honestly, this channel is more of like a passion project for me anyway. I'm not, you know, it's not a big deal if it doesn't make a ton of money or anything like that. You know, I don't really, that's not my main priority. Of course, that's not really my main priority with the other channel either, but you know, it comes with the territory of running a business. But yeah, I don't know. Well, this channel's on a decent trajectory, I would say, at least looking at it from the outside in, you know, and the inside out. I don't know, like, I know that there are other channels out there that are at this subscriber level that are probably doing killer numbers compared to me, you know, so. Yeah, I did advertise this channel a lot on ATA, and almost to my detriment, I would say, because there was a long time where I just simply did not have time to make content for this channel. That's still kind of the case, you know, but it's at least I at least am finding some room. I did watch, okay, so Eagle Eye asks if I happen to watch Sergeant Joffrian's deposition. I decided, you know, I posted about this, and actually, if you look right here, I had originally planned to go live and watch that deposition, but it has been covered so many times. And like many of you said, you can, in these comments, you know, there's really nothing to see. It's just a guy saying, I don't know, to every single question that's asked to him. Even, like, I feel like you could ask him, like, well, you know, is this a spoon, and hold a spoon right in his face, and he would say, I don't know. I mean, he don't know. That's the end of the video. And he's a piece of shit, obviously. But, you know, that's a personal opinion. All right. So we had a few people jump in and post some videos for us to watch today. And by the way, if you want me to cover your interaction, link it in the chat at any point, and we may get to it. But all right, let's just take a look at some of these. Okay, to be fair, all of these came from this list, and I did not watch any of these prior to right now. This would be my first time seeing them. So what you're going to get today is sort of a raw, unfiltered reaction to these police interactions, and I'm going to just say what I can say. You know, I'm obviously, you're not going to get the same journalistic rigor that you get from an episode of ATA. That takes a long time to do. Many hours of researching and stuff like that go into those scripts. So don't expect the same level of critique that you get there on in a live stream. You know, I'm doing the best with what I have, guys. So, oh no, wait, are you sure the screen's going black, or is it still black? Yeah, I mean, doing it raw can be risky. I might say something stupid. And this, thanks for pointing that out, Bill. I might say something stupid or ignorant or just, you know, uninformed, but, you know, I'm not an all-knowing, you know, omniscient being when it comes to the law. I most of the time, you know, I understand the fundamental principles and the things that we talk about a lot in ATA, but there's a lot of nuance to the law and a lot of things that, you know, you have to just look it up in order to know. And even attorneys don't just walk around having a lexicon of all of the laws and case law and precedent and things like that are, you know, going on and that occupy the nuance of the legal situations involving police officers. So, said all that to say, I could very well sound like a complete dumbass today. So, we'll see. All right. We're just going to hop into the first video. Like I said, I don't know anything about these. Let's just check out the description first. This is usually what I do before I watch a video. So, landed the free my ass. Well, yeah. You don't have to get arrested to have that opinion, by the way. This happened May 31st, 23. He's not a professional video editor. All he has is an iPhone 11 and the iMovie app. And please leave your constructive comments, but spare me your bootlicking and authoritarian worship. These predatory human rights violators by trade and professional abusers, full stop. If you or I don't have the right to do things to random people that they get away with, then they certainly don't have such a right either. All men are created equal. Some are just more demented. Yeah, I mean, look, I don't want to comment on these ideologies yet or the things that are being discussed here yet, because maybe he's justified in having that perspective, and we're about to find out why, you know. But you don't like me continually cussing? Well, sorry, that's just how I fucking talk. If you don't like that, I mean, you're going to hear some cussing in this stream. So if you're not a fan of that, then you probably won't enjoy this. I curse a lot. I'm an unfiltered speaker. So you're going to hear me say some shit that you probably don't agree with, that you probably don't like, that you probably don't want to hear in your household. And guess what? You have the full autonomy and freedom to not watch this stream. I'm not going to beg you to do it. You know, I'm just here to have fun, like I hope everyone else. So I want to answer this question really quick. Who is the voice of ATA? His name is Andrew Baldwin. He runs Baldwin Voice. I wish I had a link to his stuff right now, or else I would definitely link it, because if you're looking for some voiceover work, he does a lot of work with a bunch of different YouTube channels. So I'm sure that, you know, if that's something you're interested in, you could hit him up. Toddy, just to be clear, he says this is a First Amendment auditor and restricting his First Amendment is gold. I'm not a First Amendment auditor. And what I say on YouTube isn't necessarily protected by the First Amendment. It's really just about YouTube's terms of service. They could easily just nuke me just because they wanted to. Yeah, no, the Villains is not associated with... Thank you, Mod. The Villains is not associated with ATA at all. We just happen to have the same narrator. For a while, kind of the same content, but, you know, we came to some compromises on that. Anyway, I'm going to stop rambling and let's fucking watch this video. I've been doing this for already almost, 20 minutes? I've just been talking the whole time? Jesus. All right, let's get into it. Let me know how the volume is for this video once it gets going, please. Thank you, Peter. Peter Mobile.
Hey, sir, how you doing?
Doing well.
I appreciate that, Bill.
All right, so what's going on here?
I don't know what you mean.
All right, so you can't have it in the roadway.
Is that too loud?
I thought I seen you earlier. Were you over at the Jackson Place Apartments by Quality Foods and all that?
It's good.
Yes.
Yeah? Okay, all right. So are
Visiting
you
a
from
friend.
around here? Do you live around here?
Yes, sir.
Okay, where you live at? Are you actually got your driver's license on you?
Yeah.
All right, hold on. We're already asking for a license. What did he say he did? Sorry, I might have missed that.
Yes.
Yeah? Quality Way. So I thought I seen you earlier. Were you over at the Jackson Place Apartments by Quality Foods and all that?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay, all right. So are
Visiting
you
a
from
friend.
around here? Do you live around here?
Yes, sir.
Okay, where you live at? Are you actually got your driver's license on you?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I need a little more explanation than you just saw me somewhere as a, justification for needing to see my ID. Being upset that he's upset he was riding the scooter in the road, which is probably a legit reason, but why didn't he just lead with that? Because riding it in an apartment complex is not illegal, And that's something I really don't like that cops tend to do, is they want to, unnecessarily withhold why they're trying to speak to you. I don't know what the tactic behind this is. I understand that there are situations where it makes sense for a police officer to not tell the person why they are stopping them. And I often give the example of, if someone robbed a bank and then the cop pulled them over, but they didn't know that the cop knew they had just robbed a bank, then, it probably wouldn't be wise to be like, hey, I'm stopping you because you robbed a bank. I mean, that's only going to escalate the situation and probably cause them to flee or something like that. But when you're stopping someone for riding a scooter in the road, why don't you just say, hey, I saw you riding the scooter in the road. Give me your ID. Then they have nothing to argue with. You've already provided the justification. It gets ahead of the whole, escalation element of it. And granted, it doesn't always work, because I've seen many times where police officers just, they tell someone exactly why they pulled them over, but then the person just continues to say, why am I stopped? Why am I stopped? It's because they can't understand and they don't want to know about it, or know why. that's the real reason, you know. So I get why they don't do it, because they oftentimes probably like run into this situation where they're like, you know, it doesn't actually solve anything by telling someone why they're pulled over. But I think in a legal setting, or, you know, in a courtroom, it would probably look really good for a cop to walk, and the first thing that they say is, the reason I'm pulling you over or stopping you or demanding your ID is because of this thing. That would solve so many problems. Bill says, I think California recently passed a law that requires the officer to state the reason for stopping you. I think that's true as well. Man, I think that was not that long ago. I remember reading something like that, but you know, of course, I'd have to look that up.
Yeah. Yeah, so
You don't got any weapons on you, do you?
I have my ID right here.
Do you have any weapons on you?
I'm gonna sit if that's all right.
Listen to me. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear
Do
you.
you have any weapons on you?
Sir, I'm under arrest. I don't really want to answer any questions.
All right, stand up for me. Stand up. Come here. I'm just going to check you if you have weapons. You're not answering me. Turn around.
I don't consent to
Turn
any
your.
All right. Why did he do that? That's what I'd like to know. Why did he do a frisk on him? Did he have some reason to believe that this guy was armed? I didn't see anything that would suggest that, but hey, that's just me.
You ain't got to consent to this. Put your hands on your head.
I do have a pistol
Okay, where's your pistol at?
right there.
That's what I'm asking you. Why couldn't you just tell me
Because
that?
I'm not a threat to anyone.
I understand
You have to
that.
notify us if you have that, though.
All right.
I think that's state specific. I could be wrong about this. Again, I'm just a blubbering idiot right now without actually doing my homework, but there are states, I believe, that have statutes that say that you do have to inform an officer if you're armed and you're interacting with them in a, you know, their official capacity. I think especially in a traffic stop. I'm trying to recall what state that is, because I was actually going to cover an interaction that had something to do with that recently. But just to, you know, as a rule of thumb, I would say that it's probably a good idea to inform the police that you're armed whenever you are, regardless of whether or not you have to. Because look, you're at some point you're battling for your rights, but you're also trying to preserve your life, you know, and those two things don't always like go well together. So just something to consider. If you have a firearm, it would be my advice to just tell them that you do. There's nothing, you're not surrendering any rights by doing that. I mean, just stating a fact is not, you know, you're not surrendering any rights. Your Fifth Amendment right to silence doesn't kick in until you are in custody. So just bear that in mind.
I'm not going to take it from you. I'm not seizing it. I just asked you. All you had to do is tell me you had one on you. I can see a big bulge right there.
Yes, sir.
You're driving a legal vehicle in the roadway. I ought to have a, by all rights, to pat you down for weapons, okay?
All right, he said it.
All right.
He said the reason he was stopping him. He's driving an illegal vehicle in the roadway. Alamander, your rights exist at all times. I think this is you. Yeah, this is you. Yes, you're right. Your rights do exist at all times. But the practicality of exercising those rights versus, you know, losing your life are kind of different. And it seems kind of dumb to me to, like, you're not a martyr if you lose your life over a miscommunication about your rights. You know, you're just a guy who got killed by the cops who will probably never get justice, you know, and then you lost all your rights anyway because you're dead. So just consider that.
Put your hands down for me. All right, just relax. You can sit down if you want to.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Now see your driver's license,
Yes,
please?
sir.
You don't have to take it out of there if you don't want to. You run that for me? All right, so-
Can I hold the wallet, please? There's cash and stuff in
yeah.
it.
If you want to take the ID
I'll
out,
take
you're
it
gonna have
out.
to use it real quick.
Show me state news. You don't have to be in custody to exercise your First Amendment right, but your silence can be used against you. And like I said, the Fifth Amendment doesn't apply until you are in custody. So unless they have taken you into official police custody, your Fifth Amendment right to silence doesn't really mean much. And in fact, remaining silent prior to being put in custody is oftentimes not viewed favorably by the courts. And that's why I'm not a fan of silent audits, because there's no way an officer could legitimately claim, I had no way of knowing that he was exercising a right, which is actually a point that has to be proven in court if that's what you say you're doing. Like if you make a claim against an officer, like a 1983 claim, and you're claiming that they violated your rights, you're going to have to demonstrate how they did that. And it's going to be hard to do that when you're silent the whole time. You know, the cops are basically free to make inferences of whatever they want from that point, because they have nothing to go on outside of your silence. Yeah, saying something like, I don't answer questions, or I don't want to talk to you, or something to that effect is way more effective, in my opinion, than just remaining purely silent.
I promise I'm not wanted or anything.
What? No, I mean, it's protocol with us, all right? The reason I stopped is because earlier I seen you behind me down on the side of the road on the...
All right, Alamander. I think this is kind of strong language to say that they're violating the Fourth Amendment. I don't know what they would have done here to violate your Fourth Amendment. They've stopped you for what they consider a legitimate reason of, you know, driving your scooter in the road. You obviously, you can't do that. So it seems like they have a legitimate reason to ask for this ID.
Actual roadway.
I'm just trying to enjoy a peaceful night ride.
Man, hey, I'm good with you. You can ride it on the sidewalks.
Actually, that's not legal.
Not downtown, okay?
Sidewalk riding is very, very dangerous, not only for me, but for pedestrians.
Okay.
And I ride as safely as possible as I can in the roadway. I'm going to put my wallet back in this
So I'm going to
pocket.
tell you right now, that isn't true, because the truck that was behind you when I was trying to get you almost ran you over. Okay, you didn't even see him behind you. When you came around those few vehicles right down there, the F-250 almost took you out.
See, I mean, the officer lied, in my opinion, about seeing a bulge after he disarmed me. The search of the weapons database was the major fourth violation. Okay. Oh yeah, if he searched your weapon through a database for no reason, I'm pretty sure that would constitute a violation. I believe that's true. I guess the point I was trying to make is I don't think them asking you for your ID here would be a Fourth Amendment violation.
Okay, do I not have enough lights on? I'm reaching for this.
About the lights.
I'm going to reach for this light so I can turn it off.
Go right ahead. What she saying?
Just want to turn these off.
Thank you, Bill.
All right, so it's not about the lights that are on it. You got a whole bunch of lights that are on there.
Good grief. I feel like I'm being hassled for just trying. I feel like I'm being hassled just for trying to enjoy a night ride.
Okay, so what do you think I'm hassling you about? Do you think I'm like harassing you for trying to enjoy a night ride?
Honestly, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So define harassing?
I just want to be left alone. Is that okay?
I understand, but it's not with what you're doing. Like, I don't want you to get hurt, and like I
don't
told
What's
you,
up,
want to
Spot?
get hurt either.
that 250 almost ran you over right in
Okay.
front of you.
All right. Well, thank you for looking out for my
Yeah.
safety.
So the thing with your low-speed vehicle and all, like your electric, it's electric, I'm assuming,
Yeah.
right? Like, so downtown, you're not allowed.
Holy
to have
shit! Wait a minute, Alamander, your scooter can go 62 miles per hour. Who would want to go 62 miles per hour on a scooter? Oh my god. Yeah, that's hardly low speed. What? That seems insane. Have we seen the scooter yet? Kind of see it right there. But it is just like a stand-on scooter. I mean, it looks badass, but that's crazy. 62 miles per hour. Where were we? I forgot where we were, sorry. Might be way ahead.
I'm good with you. You can ride it on the sidewalks.
Actually, that's not legal.
Not downtown, okay?
Sidewalk riding is very, very dangerous.
Yeah, you better have a helmet, dude.
Okay. And I ride as safely as possible as I can in the roadway. I'm gonna put my wallet back in this pocket.
I'm gonna tell you right now, that isn't true, because the truck that was behind you when I was trying to get you almost ran you over. Okay, you didn't even see him behind you. When you came around those few vehicles right down there, the F-250 almost took you out.
Yeah, okay. The thing is like, about this, you know, this statement here. Why don't you go after that careless driver? Well, the reason is because in his opinion, you were the one being the careless driver. So and I'm not saying that his opinion is right. Of course, I wasn't there. I didn't see it. But that's what, of course, the courts are going to give deference to if they were to judge whether or not this interaction was lawful. If, the courts give a lot of deference to officer experience. And that, probably, is one of the worst things one of the biggest disagreements I have with how a lot of police interactions are analyzed as far as, their legality. Because it's often, experience is a very subjective thing. What you learn from an experience can vary from person to person. People can have, you can have 500 people having the same experience, but then if you interview them afterwards, they all have different perspectives on like what they actually took from it. But the point is, it doesn't really matter how fast you were going or what your driving habits were. It matters what the cop believes happened. And that's just how the courts have set things up. So if he wanted to, he could go write a report saying, I thought that the scooter driver almost got hit by the truck and it was the scooter driver's fault. And that's essentially, that's all that he would need to render this a lawful stop to the courts. So that's just something to keep in mind.
Even seen behind you. When you came around those few vehicles right down there, the F-250 almost took you out.
Okay, do I not have enough lights on them?
Well, okay, you don't have to be moving. Alamander says, this wasn't a traffic stop. I was already stopped and standing on the sidewalk when they appeared unexpectedly. It can still be a traffic stop. It doesn't have to be, just like, for example, if you are getting pulled, like a cop is following you home and you get right to your house and right before you pull into your driveway, he lights you up. But you've pulled into your driveway by the time he turns his lights on. You got out of the car. Or maybe he doesn't even light you up. He lets you pull into your driveway and get out of your car, and then he turns his lights on. That's not really a distinction of like when it becomes a traffic stop and when it doesn't, and whether or not a Terry stop would apply. So, don't think that just because you're not in or on your vehicle at the time that you can't be stopped for a traffic infraction. It doesn't matter where you are. The fact that you committed the traffic infraction is still there. It's still a valid point that the officer can use to detain you. So just consider that, please.
I'm reaching for this. I'm going to reach for this light so I can turn it off.
Go ahead. What you say?
Just want to turn these off.
I mean, dude, I gotta say, you look as safe as you possibly could be on that scooter. The lights, the gloves, the pads, the vest. I see people riding with much less safe things than that. So I give you props on that one.
What about the lights that are on it? You got a whole bunch of lights that are on there.
Good grief. I feel like I'm being hassled for I feel like I'm being hassled just for trying to enjoy a night ride.
Okay, so what do you think I'm hassling you about? Do you think I'm like harassing you for trying to enjoy a night ride?
Honestly, yeah.
Yeah, okay, so define harassing.
I just want to be left alone. Is that okay?
I understand, but it's not with what you're doing. Like, I don't want you to get hurt. And like,
I don't want to get hurt either.
Sorry, I'm just trying to get back to where we were.
All right, well, thank you for looking out for my safety.
Yeah. So the thing with your low-speed vehicle and all, like your electric, it's electric, I'm assuming, right? Like,
there we go.
So downtown, you're not allowed to have wheeled vehicles and stuff like that unless it's an electric assist vehicle on the sidewalks. But all these other sidewalks outside of the little small town, you can ride them anywhere you want. It can basically get you all the way to where you were, and you can go around and
on the sidewalk.
Yes, on the sidewalk.
I looked into it.
If you think it's too unsafe, I mean,
I looked into it, and sidewalk riding for electric scooters in Georgia is not lawful.
then that's fine if that's what you choose not to do. But you are not going to ride that in this roadway with all this traffic.
How am I going to get home now?
Well, you can walk it home for all I care.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't. Is it Alamander? You seem to have done some research on this. He's telling you that you can't ride the scooter in the road. That sounds wrong to me. Do they not have low speed vehicle laws or anything like that? I mean, what's the basis for him saying that you can't ride it in the road? Oh, what's up? I am free. Man, speaking of that, I'm gonna text you later, man. Sorry for I've been very busy lately, but I'm going to message you later. Thank you for being here. But yeah, I don't understand the pretense that he would say that you can't ride this in the road. I don't like the idea that he's just saying a blanket statement that, you know, none of these can be ridden in the road. Kind of.
Like, I hate to tell you,
I don't know if that's
I
real.
just told you, I don't want you to jump back out here on this roadway and end up dead on your way home.
I don't do it unsafely.
Look, you think that, and I'm with you. You got the lights, you got the reflectors, you got the vest. Hey, look, you're at the protocol, okay? Helmets, knee pads, all the works on you. That has nothing to do with the 8,000.
Mark says, I think the cop is unfamiliar with those laws. Police in Dallas mistakenly tried to ticket e-scooter riders when our rideshare program began. Yeah, I mean, I imagine that, you know, the thing about it is like the state of electric vehicles is rapidly, the industry of electric vehicles is rapidly, you know, increasing production and changing the way that, you know, these things are made. So I can see how the laws would be slow to keep up with that. You know, it might be difficult for police officers to understand what is lawful and what is not when it comes to these different types of vehicles. I mean, yeah, I've seen electric scooters too in my neighborhood. People ride them around all the time on the roads too. No one gives a shit about it around here, but apparently that's a big deal over there in Georgia.
1,000-pound vehicle, they will run you over and just drive away, and that's what I don't want to happen. We understand?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to run this pistol. Is it going to be stolen?
Of course
Why
not.
is he running the
Something like
pistol?
that?
Of course not.
Okay.
I'm not trying to do anything unlawful.
He has no reason to do that. Look, I wish cops would understand this. Look, the virtue of carrying a pistol, which is a right that we all have, is not a reason to assume that someone's doing something illegal. And you stopped this guy for a traffic infraction, I guess. And now you're running his legally owned firearm? You know, like, what is that? How do you get from A to B with this kind of stuff? I don't understand it.
Awful.
I'm with you. As long as it's good, I'll give it right back to you and send you on your way, all right?
Thank you. Will you leave it in its current condition? When you give it back to me, you can put it back in the holster if you want.
Yes, sir, I sure will.
All right.
I definitely will.
Are they going to re-rack the round for him?
Do you live at Jackson Place Apartments?
No, sir. I was visiting a friend.
Okay, I'm just trying to find you a route is what I'm doing. I'm
Trying to find you a ride.
Okay.
And honestly,
Trying to be
pushing a
good.
125-pound scooter with my heart condition 2 miles is not really ideal. Can you ride behind me and escort me home?
If you're going to just take that home, you do that.
I will.
Okay? But
Ah.
use the side.
He surrendered. He gave up. He's like, if you're just going to take it home, then take it home. He's already backpedaling because he knows he's on some shaky ground here.
Please don't make me push it home.
Okay, I won't. As long as you use as much sidewalk as you can, okay?
I don't
Can you
understand.
promise me that?
I don't even know where sidewalks are. I honestly thought when I pulled up onto this sidewalk here because I was looking for a bench to sit on.
Okay.
I thought that you were confronting me about riding on the sidewalk because I know that it's not lawful, and I was just pulling up to stop.
Yeah, it's
And now you're telling me I have to ride on the sidewalk?
No.
That's contradicting what I've researched.
okay. Did you research the city ordinance for here or just
I researched
safety of sidewalks?
electric scooter laws in Georgia.
Okay. So I'm telling you what the
Okay. He researched electric scooter laws in Florida. So let's research that. Or in Georgia. Sorry, I think I said Florida. Okay, well, looking at the top here, obviously we need to dig a little deeper than this, but it says in Georgia, electric scooter laws vary, but they are generally allowed on roads with speed limits of 35 miles per hour or less, in bike lanes, and in shared paths. Sidewalks are typically off limits. Now, if I just Googled this and I read this, like I'm sure Alamander did, it's probably pretty safe to say you know what you need to know. But let's look up let's just see if we can find it in the municipal code. All right, let's see. Probably be under offenses, or no? Is there a? Let's just see if we can look for it. Motorized scooters, motorized play vehicles. Basically what we got here. All right, no motorized play vehicle, skateboard, scooter may operate on any public street or any of these other public places or any public property. Wow. Is that a blanket ban on electric scooters in the city of Commerce, Georgia? Let me read this again. No motorized play vehicle, which they're considering motorized skateboards and motorized scooters to be, may be operated on any public street, public roadway, public sidewalk, park, or private parking lot. You can't even ride them in a private parking lot. What is that? Public trail, multi-use path, bike paths, and all other public property. They are permitted on private residential property with the permission of the owner. And in the case of residential property that is commonly owned by a HOA, the HOA can regulate that. Yeah, anti-fun law is what Bill is calling this, and that's what it sounds like. No motorized play vehicles to be operated on any private property unless the location where the vehicles are operated is inaccessible to normal pedestrian or vehicular traffic. No person shall operate them in a manner causing excessive, unnecessary, or offensive noise. They're electric vehicles. It's like whoever wrote this has no idea what an electric vehicle is. They don't even make sound. What the hell is that? The parent, guardian, or legal custody of any minor, blah, 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 not applicable. Any motorized play vehicle owned by a government entity, which is operated, oh, of course, they're allowed to do it. And a temporary suspension can be enacted for any special events. So I don't see any, yeah, that's their code. They just, I hate to inform you about this, Alamander, but apparently there's a blanket ban on all scooters or electric skateboards or any other fun vehicles. That's crazy. All right.
The laws are here in the city of Commerce.
Can you tell me your name, please?
Corporal Emerson, I can give you my card.
Yes, please.
Okay, I'll be more than happy to. Like, so anything down inside this little city right here, like the zone of this city, all these buildings that are around you, you're not even allowed to have skateboards, bicycles, any wheeled vehicles. But I would
You're telling me somebody can't ride through town?
The keyword's motorized. Is that what it said? Motorized. Ah, yeah, it did say motorized. Damn, how did I miss that? Jesus Christ. See, I told you guys that I'm an idiot. But yeah, electric motors are a thing. So I guess we'd have to dig into what they consider motorized. Do they have a definition for that? Definitions. Wow. Lots of definitions here. They don't say. Wait. Well, I don't know, because they make a distinction for electric bicycle. You'd think they'd say motorized bicycle. Low speed vehicle. Oh, nope, that has to be four-wheeled. Okay, motorized skateboard or scooter means a self-propelled device that has a motor, gas or electric, and a deck upon which a person may ride. So there you go. It does apply. Blanket ban. Don't be riding your scooter around anti-fun town, Alamander.
On a bicycle?
Listen to me. That is exactly what it says, and it's stupid. Okay, I'm with you. I would rather you ride that on this than be in that roadway.
Okay.
Do you understand the difference?
I believe so.
I'm asking you seriously. I want to know. I need you to tell me that you understand you're not allowed to ride that vehicle in this roadway.
All right. I mean, at this point, he's right. It looks to me anyway like he's right. You're not allowed to ride that vehicle in the roadway. So now I'm not saying the whole gun search aspect of this was correct, but I believe that so far this looks like a totally lawful interaction, except with the exception of running his gun for no reason.
Are you telling me anywhere in Commerce at all?
Yes, you cannot ride that on the streets with traffic. Okay, it is not a vehicle. There's no registration. There's no insurance. That thing's dangerous. What's your top speed? 8 miles an hour, maybe?
No.
No, 5 miles an hour?
Look, you're not helping by being unnecessarily quiet here. Like, why not tell him it's not a low-speed vehicle? Because that seems to be like what he's thinking. You know, if you said, no, I can keep up with traffic. It goes as fast as cars do around here. It can do the speed limit. Maybe he'd have a little more, you know, empathy.
I understand your frustration, sir, okay? But you're not going to ride that. If you want to take that to Banks County or some other county and do that, then you can let them deal with that. But here, I'm concerned for your safety, and I do not want you laying in the road dead on that thing. We understand each other?
Yeah. Will you escort me home?
What's that?
Will you escort me home?
I'd be more than happy to. Be more than happy. We'll have somebody. You said you live all the way.
Yeah.
So you rode it from. How did you get? Did you ride all the way down like Maysville Road?
I've been riding it around town for a year.
This town?
Yes, I live in Commerce.
Okay. You've been riding it around for a year, good on you, all right? But I'm telling you right now, from me to you, like I said, I'll give you my card. You are not allowed to ride that on these streets. We'll make sure you get home. You can ride it home. We ain't gonna have you push 100 and something.
All right. Show Me State News says, have a right to travel freely. You certainly do. You can travel as freely as you want, but not in any vehicle that you want. Your right to travel doesn't mean that you have a right to drive a car or ride a scooter in a town where people don't want that, where people have legislated to not have that. So yeah, unfortunately, we live in a society, and democracy is a system where majority rules. That's the fundamental concept that underpins democracy. You know, we can say free elections, voting, blah blah blah, but at the end of the day, if you reduce the system down to its bare parts, you basically get majority rules. And yeah, unfortunately, the people in Commerce, Georgia don't like to have fun. You know, and this is the consequence of that. So yeah, you can travel freely on your feet. You can travel as freely as you want. But literally every other aspect of travel is regulated at the state level and the federal level to some degree. It's illegal to ride a camel in Nevada? Jesus. Bill says that it's illegal to ride a camel on the roads. Okay. Well, that makes sense. I mean, I imagine camels aren't very fast.
Pounds home. That's it. You want to take it on the sidewalk?
Can you provide me any literature that I can reference or read to learn about the law?
You go on the City of Commerce webpage into the City of Ordinance, all right? Like, I'm not going to pull it up and print you 15, 20 pages.
I understand.
I will. I'll show it right here.
All right? and you look up sidewalks,
Gas
look up
or
roadways,
electric.
you can look up electric motor vehicles, state laws.
Where did
in
it say it?
Georgia, low,
Right here.
Low speed vehicles. There's a whole bunch of them on there. You're not allowed to have that thing in the roadways, okay?
That's what he's talking about.
I can provide you all kind of, that's one of my fortes. I'm very good at that, all
What
right?
about like in a neighborhood, subdivision neighborhood?
You go right ahead. As long as there's not an HOA that says you're not allowed to ride that there.
Look, this cop knows the code. He knows the code. I mean, he specifically said, like you pointed out, a hyper specific situation. Like, what about on private property? And then he almost like verbatim said the code. So he's right.
Subdivisions, private property, all that stuff is a different entity.
What
now.
I looked up said 35 mile an hour roads and below,
Okay.
safe and legal.
There's
Yeah, see, that's because you just Googled it. You didn't look at the actual code. Joanna says a couple thoughts. If the scooter can go 62 miles per hour, it should require a driver's license. Yeah, fair critique. Electric scooters exist, and the law should allow for people to use them because it's a common form of transport. I totally agree with that. And the law does allow for people to use them. It's just in the city of commerce, those people have decided that they don't want people to ride electric scooters on the streets. So once again, this goes back to what I was saying about, you know, the majority rules aspect. That's granular, you know, all the way down to the local level. People have a choice to dictate, you know, what they want around them locally through their local legislation. So Glaucoma says, I watch all of your videos, but they will not show up in my feed. Yeah, welcome to the audit the audit experience.
different vehicles that are allowed to be ridden on 35 and below. All right, but what you're on right here, when you're up there, that's not 35 and
I
below.
was doing like 12 through town, 13 miles an hour.
You are. The speed limit is not. So when you're trying.
Yeah, stop. Don't say that. Never tell a cop how fast you were going, regardless of like the situation. Don't volunteer that information. If it doesn't matter if you believe you were totally in the right, don't tell them how fast you were going. Do not do it. Never do that.
Trying to fall under that 25 and below for your low speed vehicles, that's this little part right here, right? But when you almost got hit by F-250, that's over. All right, and then up there where you were at Maysville, all the way down here, Commerce Water.
That's good to hear,
Maysville
Chase.
Road, that's 45 miles an hour. You're doing 10 miles an hour on that thing. If somebody hits you, it's over for you, sir.
All right, what if I'm going faster than they are? What if I'm keeping up with the speed of...
Nah, you haven't missed much at all, Tokyo. Welcome. I don't know how you send a super chat. If you want to donate, I guess you can do it through YouTube. But you know, save your money. You don't have to donate to me. You know, this live will probably be like cut down into a video for everyone to see. I'm sure that'll make some money. So if you want to donate, feel free. I'm not going to tell you how to do it though, because I honestly don't know. But we'll work on that eventually. If this becomes a regular thing and you guys like it, then maybe you can support me in that way. But it's not necessary right now. Let's just have a good time and watch these videos.
traffic? Does that make any difference?
No, it doesn't, because it's not allowed to be on that. You can make that thing 50 miles an hour if you want to. It is not allowed to be on a mile an hour road that's 50 miles an hour.
It's not allowed to be on the road at all.
Okay. Do you have any more questions for me?
No, I was just stopping to rest.
Okay. Everything good? All right, if you'll stand up for me, we'll put that weapon right back where we got it from, like we told you, okay?
All right. I think we've seen enough of this one. I will skip a little bit just to kind of see how this is resolved.
Minutes?
Sure.
Okay, we'll wait right here with you. When you're ready, you just let us
I'm
know.
just going to get my phone.
Okay.
Let's see if they end up following him home. Oh, let's go back. Okay. Oh, man, you're acting like this was such an injustice. Like they just committed some kind of atrocity against liberty. But, you know, this is not what happened here, buddy.
Can I still have a business card, please?
Oh, here. David Emerson, Corporal. There's his phone number. Call him and tell him he knows the code. Let's see.
One whenever you're ready, man, you go ahead and take off. We'll make sure you get home, okay?
So you want me to? That's what I thought we had arranged.
Okay. And go right ahead. Once you cross over there, we'll just stay behind you.
So I'll take the road to Ridgeway.
Okay. All right.
Sounds good.
You be safe, sir.
Thank you.
All right, thank you for accosting me, holding me against my will, battering me, and by unwanted touching, forcing my surrender of my property, and using implied threat of deadly force to compel my subservience and submission to your abusive encroachment on my liberty, which of course would be absolutely criminal if I were to dare to conduct myself in such a manner, creating real victims, as you have and routinely do. You know, I think that your perspective on this police interaction is very much informed by your clear bias against police officers, which I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. I mean, there's plenty of reasons to not like police officers, but I think it's important and prudent that whenever you're interacting with them, that you remove that bias from your mind and try to carry yourself, you know, with the implication that everything that you're doing could end up in front of people who aren't law enforcement officers, as in a judge or jury. So, biased against victimization, I kind of think you're not really a victim. I mean, you were committing a traffic infraction according to the Commerce City Code, and they stopped you for that. And then they were courteous enough to let you continue committing that infraction while they follow you home to make sure you get home safely. So I do think that, yeah, you handled the interaction well. As far as like in the moment, you didn't say too much. I mean, obviously you shouldn't tell them your speed, but I don't know if this is an accurate characterization of like what happened here, is what I'm saying. Yeah, I don't think you were harming anyone, but I do think you were violating the city code, which, you know, that's the will of the people in Commerce City. So there is an argument to be made that, you know, you are hurting them in some way. At least that's how we like to see things through the law. Oddly enough, this channel and ATA have made me stop hating all cops and respect the good cops so much. I mean, yeah, that's what we should do. We shouldn't hate all cops. We should hate the ones that don't do their jobs and the ones that, you know, are malicious people, but we shouldn't hate all cops. I mean, I personally believe in the rule of law. We do need laws in order to have a functioning society, and part of that is going to be enforcing those laws. And of course, there are going to be situations where cops, you know, fuck up and they don't know what the fuck they're doing. And we shouldn't even hate those cops, because making a mistake is one thing, but actively, you know, failing to do your job is where we have problems with police officers. But let's see this scooter. Because first of all, this thing looks badass. Okay. Now, I think this clearly qualifies under the statute we were looking at earlier as something that would be captured under that blanket ban. So, all right. Yeah. I think that, you know, my final takeaway from this would be that, you know, Alamander, probably don't be riding this around on the streets of Commerce City. And I know that's probably unfortunate news, but, you know, if you don't like that, go talk to your city council. You know, talk to someone who can legislate on your behalf and get that code changed. In my opinion, it's outdated. It's a dumbass code. It serves no real legitimate purpose. I'll hit play. There we go. This is a badass scooter though, dude. I bet this thing was expensive. It looks like a freaking... It looks like a motorcycle when you're not seeing the rest of it. Jesus, the lights, man. It also kind of looks like a spaceship. That thing's gnarly. That is sweet. Okay, I do have this video too, which is about an attorney losing his shit in a deposition. And this is actually the case that it had to do with. So this is kind of an interesting case, because basically what happened here was that there was a company that had an SAT assessment. Like, they made SAT tests, and they provided those tests to different universities. But some of the people that worked for that company got the idea, hey, let's go, let's just quit this company, say fuck them, and let's go make our own SAT company and steal all the customers and information from the database of the corporation we're currently working for. And that's what happened. And this, of course, a lawsuit ended up coming out of that, which is this suit right here, which is blueprint and test preparation versus I'm trying to remember because Rob Sig Educational Services is the name of the company, but there was another, they had a DBA as something else. I can't remember what it was. Anyway, they stole private company information and got sued for it. And this guy right here is one of the people who works for the company that stole the information, and he is being examined in a deposition right now by the attorney from the company who is suing the other company for stealing that information. And the attorney, his name is Joseph Corey, Joseph Corey. And he loses this shit in this deposition. And I honestly, there's been a lot of this Officer Joffrian talk about depositions, and that reminded me of this video. I've seen this video years ago, but I just forgot all about it. This is basically me watching it again for the first time, because all I know about it is that this guy right here, or the attorney that you can't see off camera, loses his shit during this deposition. So let's just check this out.
Should ask. Thanks for telling me the questions I should ask. Will have your opportunity at the end.
Just shut up and move on with your questions, okay?
Mr. Curry.
Just shut up, or I'll adjourn this deposition, and you can tell it to the judge, or I'll get you some tissues and you can cry.
Mr. Curry.
All right?
Please don't tell me what to do.
You asked him if he ever spoke with Farsh about anything. He said no. Now you're asking him to tell you what Farsh told him. It is a bullshit question. It is absolutely speculative, no foundation, or anything else. Now, he's entitled to a fair question. You told him that. So if you're going to sit there and ask unfair questions, I'm going to correct them.
All right, so just so you know, this is not something you can do during a deposition. It's not a cross-examination situation. And basically, all you can do, if you're the attorney who's representing the person in the deposition, you can make objections to the way that certain questions are asked, but you're not allowed to dictate like how the conversation goes and what questions are literally asked. So you don't just get to talk out of turn and just say whatever you want whenever you want, especially on the basis that you don't like how the other attorney's framing certain questions. VA Outlaw says, why won't you debate John Felix? Because I don't have time to debate people who don't have rigorous principles and who just, are making useless content that, means nothing. I mean, I don't want to go too much further into that because I don't want to turn this into like more drama or anything like that. But the point is, I don't see a point in trying to debate John Felix. He's just too far gone.
So I don't waste this guy's time having to come back or go to trial and undo the mess that you're trying to create. Got me?
Are you finished?
Are you finished?
Do you
understand the question,
Are
Mr.
you aware of the local rules with regard to what objections you are allowed to make and what
Do you understand the question, Mr. Foster?
Sir, right now this is my witness. I get to ask.
I love how he's just completely ignoring him. Like, he's like, do you understand the question? He's like, do you understand the question? That's funny. VA, there's really going to be nothing to see. John Felix and I disagree on such a fundamental level that there's no way that we could come to any kind of compromise with that conversation. It's going to go literally nowhere. There's going to be nothing to see about it. Also, I'm not a debater. I don't like doing live debates. It's just not like what I do. And people, you know, in modern debate culture, it's really about railroading the other person more than it is about being right. And I can already see that that's exactly what would happen. I would never debate Hassan Piker, even though I don't like him and I disagree with pretty much everything he does and says, and I think he's a pseudo intellectual idiot. But I would never debate him. Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I don't have a personal problem with John Felix. Obviously, he does with me, but I don't have a personal problem with him. I don't know him. You know, I don't know anything about him as far as like who he is as a person. But I'm also I understand his belief structure, and it's wild and you know, all over the place, and it doesn't make any sense to me. So I'm not going to try to debate someone who doesn't have a clear like fundamental belief system that I could even attack.
Ask the questions. You get to make objections only. There are two types of
Call the
objections
bailiff.
you can make. Objections
Call
to
the
form.
bailiff.
Sir.
Do you understand the question being asked, Mr.
Mr.
Foster?
Curry.
Don't ever presume that you get to tell me what to do or when to do it, counsel. Don't you ever presume.
Why
Mr.
should
Foster,
you be
this is
entitled-
your deposition. Do you understand the question?
Why should you be entitled to then tell me what to do?
Yeah, you don't you ever tell me what to do. Like, dude, he kind of does get to tell you what to do right now, you know, because you're in a deposition and there are rules to how depositions work. So it's not like he's telling you what to do. He's telling you to obey the objective rules that have already been set out by the courts. It's clear, you know, attorneys can have ego. It seems like just working in law, whether it's enforcement, you know, or whether you're working as a judge or some kind of any kind of capacity in the law industry, comes with some degree of ego. You can get my attention, Mitch, just by talking in the chat. You don't have to donate money to me for me to look at your chat, you know, whatever you want to say. Say what you want to say. Oh, would this hurt his client's case? Not only did this hurt his client's case, it cost them $1.6 million because these were violations that you are, you know, entitled to compensation for if you're the other party. He's violated the decorum rules of depositions, which ended up costing them an extra $1.6 million on top of being ruled to pay out and losing this lawsuit altogether. So, yeah, would this hurt his client's case? It destroyed it. It absolutely destroyed it, and then cost him a bunch of money. And this guy's still an attorney, by the way.
Doesn't it go both ways?
Because I'm being straight with the guy and you're being not straight with the guy. That's why. He has no dog in this fight.
Are you finished giving your opinions now about
He has
the
no
question?
dog in this fight, and you're trying to get him to say things that are simply untrue. It's an old trick, Mr. Zohar.
You don't think you're
Okay.
trying to coach the witness right now?
I'm telling him what the question
Look
is.
at
so he
this
can
guy's
answer.
face. He's like, what the fuck
You know
is
what the
going
speaking
on right now?
objections are?
Don't lecture me, idiot. I'm telling you I'm not gonna let that happen. Okay? You got me? Do
I
we
wanna
understand
know
each other?
if you
Are
understand the
we
rules.
connecting here? Because
I'm
if we're not
trying to
connecting
proceed.
here, I will try again. Okay? Don't give me local rules, don't give me procedures, don't give me professionalism. Just put a fair question to the witness. And if you're not going to do that, then I am. We understand each other?
You said the definition of a motorized scooter is without a seat. Well, that scooter certainly didn't have a seat. It was like a stand-on one. Mitch, I want your opinion on our case. Sorry, I can't do that. I can't give you direct advice on a case. That would be giving you legal advice. That's not what I'm here to do. If you have a body camera footage that you would like me to commentate on, I can do that, but I can't give you direct legal advice, either privately or in public. So don't email me asking me that either. The only way that I can deliver any kind of statement on body camera footage is, or on a case, is if I have the body camera footage that I can use as an educational tool for everyone, not just for one person. Not only did he try to stop the other attorneys questioning Rojice, he went a step further and basically tried to say that the attorney wasn't allowed to ask those questions and was just constantly reaffirming, like, are you sure you understand the question, to his client, and stalling and you know, obviously creating problems with the decorum of depositions.
If you believe that a question that I ask is not proper, then you get to pose a valid objection. You're not allowed to make speaking objections. You're not allowed to give
Don't
your
lecture me,
opinions.
puppy. Don't lecture me. I was doing this when you were still chasing cheerleaders. Don't you even think about lecturing me about deposition.
Jesus Christ, the ego. Oh wait, did I? Oh shit, sorry. I'll redo that. My bad.
Puppy, don't lecture me. I was doing this.
Give your ask is not proper, then you get to pose a valid objection. You're not allowed to make speaking objections. You're not allowed to give your
Don't lecture me,
opinions.
puppy. Don't lecture me. I was doing this when you were still chasing cheerleaders. Don't you even think about lecturing
Look at
me
that
about
guy's face. Like he's really trying hard not to laugh. He's like, what the hell? Could this lawyer have been disbarred? Certain. I mean, yeah, but that's really a process. You know, it's sort of like a. I'm trying to think of a good analogy for like what would a disbarring process be similar to. But yeah, well, he could certainly be disbarred, but it would be a process. You know, someone would have to file a complaint, then he'd have to go before a board. They would do a hearing. It would be a whole thing. So it's rare that attorneys get disbarred unless there's just some incredibly, you know, irredeemable thing that they did.
depositions.
I think you're practicing a few
So-
years more than me, actually.
so-
That's it,
so-
to be honest with you.
Do you understand the question?
Mr. Curry,
Let's have the question read
it is
back,
my
please.
desire to follow the rules. If you don't believe we should be following the rules, then maybe you need to explain to me what procedure we are supposed to follow.
Now, do you think that there's anything wrong with adding testmaster students who you met only by virtue of your employment at Testmasters to a prospective client file for your competing company?
Would you read the question back, please?
This is the same attorney, by the way.
Students who met only by virtue of your employment at Testmasters to a prospective client file for your competing company.
An object to the question is no foundation. It calls for speculation, seeks a legal conclusion, it's argumentative, and I'm instructing the witness not to answer.
Okay, so what he said there was he thinks that the question, he's going to object, and that he thinks that the question is argumentative. He said something else too, but that just slipped by me. But look, that's a valid concern because the way he framed that question was very, he said, do you think it's wrong? Which is kind of a, like, who cares if you think it's wrong or not? That's not relevant as to whether or not you did something wrong. It doesn't matter what your personal philosophy on whether or not that's wrong is. What matters is the law. So is there an objection to be had here? Probably. But is this the right way to do it? Definitely not.
Mr. Tatey, do you think that it would be improper for you to copy your employer's course material while you're a Testmasters instructor and use it for a competing business?
Same objections, same instruction.
Again, that's still
So
a
as we sit here today,
very
you don't know whether or
speculative
not it's
answer.
a true statement
like Lacoma
that as
said.
of March 30th, 2005,
Question,
Blueprint
sorry.
had not yet finished the writing and production of its LSAT course.
Objection, argumentative. It also invades the attorney-client privilege and the work product doctrine, instructed not to answer.
Do you deny, Mr. Tatey, that as of January 12th of 2005, that Matt Riley was a Blueprint partner?
Objection, same objections, same instruction.
Okay, now there he asked him a matter of fact. He asked, do you deny that someone was employed at this company? That, now, I don't know how you could make a speculative grounds or an argumentative grounds for something like that. In North Carolina, it's illegal to make a copy of body camera footage. Is that true? I could see that being true in certain circumstances, but that sounds kind of crazy. That you can't make a copy of body camera footage? It's public record. What do you mean? Surely you can make a copy of it.
Mr. Curry, this goes to the very heart of the case here, and I'd ask you to reconsider your instruction and allow Mr. Tatey to answer this very simple fundamental question.
I've reconsidered. The answer is no.
Can you rule out the possibility that Matthew Riley was a Blueprint partner while he was still teaching for test masters?
Same objection, same instruction.
Do you deny that Matthew Riley was a Blueprint partner at the same time that he was teaching test masters classes?
I don't know why he's saying that like that. Do you
deny that Matt Riley was working on the Blueprint website while he was still teaching classes for test masters?
Objection, it's argumentative, calls for speculation, there's no foundation, instruct the witness not to answer.
And can you say with certainty that Mr. McCarthy did not help in any way in helping Blueprint create the course material?
Objection, calls for speculation, no foundation, it's argumentative, instruct the witness not to answer.
Banjo says, I'm not gay, but if I had to marry a man, I'd marry you, Mr. Lang. I appreciate that. Fortunately, I'm already married. In North Carolina, the only way to get body camera footage is by a judge's order. Is that true? Let's look that up. Jesus Christ, I can't type today. I guess we can type laws, I don't know. In North Carolina, body camera footage from law enforcement is not considered public record and is subject to specific release and disclosure rules. Generally, access is limited to those depicted in the footage or their representatives. Limited disclosure. Again, you know, look, we're just using Google search. We saw earlier that this is not an accurate way to try to interpret law because, you know, oftentimes it doesn't get things right. But I'll give you the benefit of the doubt on this one because it's, I mean, well, let's just click this article here. How do body camera laws work in North Carolina? Recordings can be released to a person whose voice or image appears in the recording or a representative of that person, but law enforcement can disclose only those portions of the recording that are relevant to the person's request. Yeah, in order for a recording to be released to the public, a judge has to issue a court order. How do they justify this? What the hell kind of shit is that? That seems insane to me. This is the kind of bullshit that you get, you know, with having 50 different nations living under one banner. Yeah, Peter says that sounds restrictive. Yeah, to say the least. Alabama, Arizona, Kansas. Yeah, I could see there being a that was my first thought, was that there's probably some kind of like consent laws in those states. Like, for example, you know, there's like Alabama, for example, is a one-party consent state, meaning that if you're recording something, you only need your own permission to record it. But in two-party consent states, like I believe Georgia is one, I don't know if North Carolina is or not, but I know for sure that Florida is, you have to have both parties permission in order to record anything. Thomas Taylor just linked the specific statute, I'm assuming. Let's see. Immediate disclosure review. Immediate disclosure. When requested by submission of the notarized form described in section B2 of this section to the head of law enforcement agency, any portion of a recording in the custody of a law enforcement agency which depicts a death or, okay, well, that's not relevant to what we're talking about. Let's see. What subsection did you say that was? A? I don't, this is going to take a lot of reading to figure out. When disclosing the recording, shall only use parts of the recording that are relevant to the person's request. Person who receives the shall not copy the recording. Interesting. Yeah, I will agree with that. Electric Eccentric says that the expectation of privacy still exists in two-party consent states, so you usually don't need permission to record audio in public. Yeah, that's true. That is true. But my point was that sometimes they use these types of laws as a basis for why they wouldn't, why they would put restrictions on how you can, on what kind of, like, how you can receive body camera. But that's insane. That is so crazy. So yeah, this is the lawsuit that, here's the link to it if anyone wants to check it out. But yeah, that attorney ended up costing that company $1.6 million in extra fees because he wanted to be an asshole during deposition. Oh, am I quiet right now? Hold on. Is that better? Maybe that's better. Sorry, I turned it down a little bit because I could see that that the desktop audio is coming through my head, or from my headphones into the microphone. All right. Thank you. All right. Now, this is another one that was submitted here. And again, I have not seen this interaction, but let's just take a look at what we got going on here. So, Conway, Arkansas police. This is supposedly a Fourth Amendment violation. And 2 false criminal trespasses in 15 minutes. So you got trespassed twice. Thank you, everyone, for letting me know what's up with the audio. So he pulls up to the gas pump. Irina paid for gas and waited. Well, I guess we don't need the whole like play-by-play. We're about to watch the video. Thank you. Thank you. All right, let's roll this. This is muted, by the way. Oh yeah, it says it right there.
She's been for the coffee. I've been watching her since then. Just acting like staring and had the door open for about 2 minutes, just in staring at the bottle of the car. But anyway, she ain't done with it.
All right, it sounds like these people are trying to report some suspicious activity.
Got a bunch of coffee and creamer. About what seemed like 10 minutes.
She paid for gas, and then I thought she was going out the door. She turned around and went that way.
And what's big?
This is a problem that I see all the time, where people call the cops just because people are doing something weird. And then it escalates into this crazy, nonsense interaction that never had to happen if the people, Oh, what's up? Here's the deal. Brian, yes, that's your name. Sorry. Yeah. Dude, I gotta say, for those of you who don't know, you probably don't because Brian has faced a lot of problems with YouTube over the years, but Here's the Deal has been on YouTube for a very long time and is probably one of the pioneers of how to like navigate YouTube's bullshit TOS, because I think he's had quite a few run-ins with it, and he's very good and at keeping his channel alive and keeping his audience there with him, which is an incredibly difficult thing to do on the platforms nowadays. So hats off to you, Brian. I'm a fan, dude. I'm a fan of how you stick it to the YouTube bullshit machine. We, of course, don't agree on everything, but I do appreciate your opinions and the content you create and the things that you've done on this platform over the years. So, you know, hats off to you, brother. I know how difficult it must have been to keep that going all these years in the face of the discouragement and, you know, things like that. So, hats off, man. But yeah, back to what I was saying. People calling the cops just because people are acting weird is ridiculous. Stop calling the cops because people are acting weird. Okay, just let people be fucking weirdos. All right, the cops can't solve people being weird. So please stop calling the cops for weird people. Thank you for stopping in, Brian. I appreciate that, man.
So, Teal?
Will you wait around for just a minute?
Yeah.
Please?
Yeah. You want me to sit in my car?
Yeah.
I'll be in my car.
I was just going to say, unless it's making up.
Do you think she's stealing stuff?
But like I said, I'm trying to watch it because I was thinking the same thing.
I'm gonna sit in my car because.
Okay, so there is an accusation of theft, or at least suspicion of that. But still, like, I just really feel like you should know for sure. You know, I mean, you're in a convenience store. You got cameras everywhere.
So she wasn't stealing anything but cream or sugar if she was stealing anything or whatever. Like I said, what seemed like 10 minutes.
And then I guess there's a guy in the bathroom that.
Oh, there's somebody with her.
Yeah.
I can look on the cameras while she's sitting there. I just replay them and see just while she's sitting there.
Walk Hike Explorer says, do you ever watch Law Crime Network body camera videos? They show so many violations, like cop demanding ID with no cause, and when the person gives pushback, the channel makes them off to be in the wrong. Yeah, you know, all Law and Crime and A&E and all those networks are basically frauditor channels at this point. Like they fucking hate it. Brian, I'm not doing super chats right now. I don't, you know, don't worry about giving me your money. No, not necessary at the moment. I'm just doing this to do it, create some content, go over some stuff. But I appreciate the thought. Maybe next time I'll enable that, but for now, we're just here to chill.
I could have swore I just seen her good, but right when I was trying to look underneath my hat. They're shady as hell. Excuse me. Oh, what the hell?
Is she a ghost?
No, it's I noticed in my replay deals. It's got a bunch of, I don't know what's going on. It should be solid, but you see how it's got the empty spots and it's skipping around. But I just sat there, was right up watching her underneath my hat, and as I looked down, I looked back up. She had a Snickers bar in her hand the whole time, but I seen her flap up with this hand going. I didn't see it.
Do you want me to just? I can just get. Yeah. Y'all want him out, and I can have that.
They haven't done nothing. Yeah, I mean, it's actually.
I mean, he said it. They haven't done anything.
Yeah. Since I'm trying to be making contact with like female. All right. Yeah. How are you? Yeah. I'm Officer Reynolds, Conway PD. All right. Y'all aren't doing anything you're not supposed to, right? No?
Why?
Because I got called here.
You got called here?
Yeah.
By whom? Or because of us?
Yes.
No.
Nobody's stealing anything?
No.
No.
I bought gas, pulled up, went directly to the bathroom, came out, and we're going to buy some...
You came in here like a minute after I walked in.
What does that have to do with me talking to you right now?
Anyway, no.
What that has to do with you talking to them right now is that you weren't called there. You just happened to be there. And you just said you were called there. Didn't he say that? Or am I crazy? He said, I got a call here.
Pulled up, went directly to the
Us?
Yes.
No.
Yeah, because I got called here.
Yeah, because I got called here. She said, no, you walked in right behind me. That's why she said that, bro.
What does that have to do with me talking to you right now?
Anyway, no, sir, we're not doing anything.
Called you in.
Yes, they did, or I wouldn't be here, and it's all on body camera.
Because
You see this right here? You see what that is? That's a camera.
We had just
My whole
arrived.
conversation with the person is on camera. You're not going to sit there and call me a liar.
Hey, what is
Okay, he's clearly escalating this. You know, imagine if this was the customer service that these people received at the gas station. That you're not going to call me a liar, you know, all this bullshit. When he obviously is a liar, he was already fucking there.
Nobody's calling you a liar.
Yes, you did. You just said that nobody called me over here.
said you're a liar.
You just said nobody called me over here to talk to you guys.
You said you had a phone, you got a call. A call. What does that mean? It clearly, you know, any normal person would interpret that to mean that you received a 911 call to be there. But what she's saying is, how could you have received a call to be there when you were here 1 minute after I arrived? Just pointless escalation.
And I just told you, the reason I'm making contact with you is because the workers said you are acting weird
You
and
already
strange.
made contact with
I did not.
Okay, again, okay. Not only is this, even if the cop himself saw them acting weird, that's not a basis for reasonable suspicion. And now we have the second element of the fact that the cop didn't actually see anything. Some other people thought that what they were doing was weird. Now, how does that, you can't get much more of a hunch than that. And obviously, reasonable suspicion requires more than a hunch. That's like the only barrier to entry for having reasonable suspicion.
You said, oh my God, you scared me.
The workers said you are acting weird.
You
and
already
strange.
made contact with
I
me
did not
when you
make
said,
contact.
oh my God, you scared me. Remember that?
I obviously remember that.
I'm gonna go get my
Well, I didn't see.
Oh, look at his face.
I got my coffee.
You can just see it on his
Okay,
face.
but you've been in here for 10 minutes and you've left your coffee and you're walking all around.
What the fuck is
They're being customers? Oh my gosh, so weird.
Here in a second. What's your name? No, you're gonna come here.
Hey. Dude.
Don't touch me. No. I'm a woman. You're not
I
allowed
don't
to
care.
touch me.
You're gonna get out of the store.
Okay, now he's telling them to leave. Why is he doing that? Are cops handing out PBA cards and placards to their friends and family to escape accountability for traffic and parking violations? Maybe. I doubt it. I don't think that they have PBA cards. What is that? What's a PBA card? Oh, I typed in PBS card. A PBA card is a small badge or labeled that is issued by the Police Benevolent Association. These cards are distributed to PBA members who are typically law enforcement officers. This badge bestows a certain benefit. Wait, this small badge bestows certain benefits and privileges to the holder. It's also a symbol of affiliation with the PBA, but the PBA card can help you avoid a traffic ticket. The main purpose of the card is to provide a method of identification for police officers, usually when they are off duty. This type of identification signals that they are law enforcement. Could they hand those cards out? Certainly. But is this legit? This is in New York too, which is crazy because they're one of the most, benevolent. I know, right? Yeah, right. It seems to me like this is a way for police officers to tell each other, hey, don't cite me because I'm an off-duty officer, without explicitly showing their badges. It's a common problem in New York City for PBA abuse for friends and family. I mean, I could easily see that. Yeah, this seems like a complete racket, like Thomas is saying. Wow. Didn't even know about this. That's crazy. But I don't live, I've never lived on the East Coast for very long. I lived in Rhode Island for about a month when I was a teenager, but that's been basically my whole experience with, the culture of Northeast, the northeastern part of the country. This is insane. This should not be allowed. What the hell?
Why? Because they want you to leave. Get out of the store. The workers, get out of the store. I'm in handcuffs.
I guess that goes for me too.
Yes, that does.
Wow.
Now this part is reasonable in my opinion. Oh, they just ratted him out and said they didn't call him.
You just kicked us out of the store.
So, yes, put that down.
She didn't call you.
Yes. Did you call me? Did you want me to make contact with them? Okay, get out of the store. Leave. Get out of the store.
Hey, come on.
So they can't come back here?
Okay, look.
So now I'm gonna request.
Soliciting a trespass. I mean, this is a topic that comes up a lot, but really this kind of falls into the pretextual narrative, right? What is soliciting a trespass? Does that mean that the cop is asking someone, would you like to trespass this person? And it doesn't matter even if, the thing is like, if someone else has a desire to trespass someone from their private property, the subjective intentions of the officer are not going to come into play, whether, depending on whether or not it was that officer's opinion that drove the trespassing. At the end of the day, you still have one person who wants another person removed from their property, regardless of the whatever pretext there is for that. So it's very difficult, if not impossible, to have any ground on this idea that a cop is soliciting a trespass.
You just solicited a trespass, dude. You can't do that. So we're leaving.
No,
we were asked to leave.
You are going to give me your IDs so you can be criminally trespassed because they don't want you here. My whole conversation with both of the workers is on body camera.
She didn't call.
Okay, you can think.
Okay, where is this happening at? Conway, Arkansas? Now, generally, you can't just demand to see someone's ID to effectuate a trespass notice. Now, I'm speaking very generally here because the person has to be put on notice first before they actually violate the trespass law. So this cop can't demand to see their ID. Generally, in most situations, you would not be allowed to, an officer is not allowed to demand to see someone's ID because they are trespassing or going to be warned about trespassing. Now, granted, there are a lot of police departments that have protocols in place that, in their policy, it says, you must get someone's ID whenever you issue a trespass notice, but that policy doesn't mean shit when it comes to the law. And you still, regardless of whatever bullshit policies a police department wants to cook up, you still have your rights. Of course, we'd need to look up what the identification laws are specifically in Arkansas, but generally, you do not have to give your ID for them to issue a trespass notice.
Think what you want.
And the man who owns or the manager?
Did you not just ask her, did you call?
Very nice. Yes, I asked her. She
And what
said
she said?
no.
Okay, and then what did I say? I said, did you call me?
She's scared of you.
No.
Just
What's your
like
name?
We all are.
What's your
Why?
name?
Do you like this? You like people being
afraid of you?
What is your name? I'm going to ask you one more time.
Did you call him?
No, but I want to ask a question. You made 2 cups of coffee and a fountain. Where are they at? I'm just curious.
He kicked us out.
Okay. Well, I was just curious where they were.
I want to pay for them if you don't
Well,
mind.
that's fine if she still got them. I mean, wherever you got put them, I don't know where you put them.
They were sitting down because I was grabbing.
Yeah, but I was just curious. I
was grabbing 2 bottles from the refrigerator, and I couldn't do it since I only get.
Yeah, that's lucid. That he says not necessarily when you come back, but if you, but also if you refuse to leave. Yes, but you have to be warned first. That, first you have to be warned. After you've been warned, if you come back or if you don't leave, then yeah, they would have the lawful authority to demand to see your ID. But just to put you on notice that you are being trespassed, generally there's no ID requirement for that, and I can't think of a state that does anyway.
Yeah. Have 2 hands. I'm sorry.
You're fine. I mean,
you didn't call him.
I was listening to actually what she said in here.
Yeah, I think that this business owner is regretting calling the cops on his customers now.
It's all on body camera.
It's
I don't
not
care
true.
what you say.
No. It's not true that you need our names and birth dates.
Okay, so how am I going to criminally trespass you?
You can't, because
They have to ask.
the trespass laws, we are asked to leave, we leave.
No, Your Honor, you criminally trespass.
We are leaving. We have not committed a
You're going to
crime.
go to jail for obstruction. Both
They
of
have
you.
to actually say that.
She just did. It's all on body camera. Are you
No,
crazy?
see, this is the problem. Don't argue stupid points with cops, because then they'll hyper focus on that. Like this lady, Arena. Yeah, Arena says they didn't say that. They didn't ask you. Well, they did. They did say that. They did want this cop to come and check them out. The issue, though, is what I'm assuming Mark is saying, which is that you cannot demand to see my ID without first putting me on notice for a trespass.
See, what do you not understand about this? It's very simple. It is very simple.
Don't insult me anymore.
It is very simple.
Okay? You
I
don't
need
have
your
to call me
IDs.
names.
I need your ID.
I'm sorry, sir. You want us?
Listen, it's like this. It's like this. It's just very. I'm sorry. Can I say something?
Okay.
Or whatever. It's like this. You pay for gas at 541. Been here for 35 minutes, 40 minutes now. I know that's strange. I just didn't
We've
know.
been driving.
Well, she was waiting
I'm not
for
accusing
me.
you of stealing or nothing like that. I'm just saying. It's very
Oh, that's interesting, because he was accusing them of stealing to the officer. He was making it sound like they were being really weird, and that all of their actions were suspect, and they may very well be stealing. That was the whole precipice for this interaction. But now he's walking all that back. Secondly, it is weird to be at a gas station for 40 fucking minutes. Jesus Christ. Leave that place.
Okay, this is what I'm going to say.
She's waiting.
Both of you.
I
I'm
thought-
talking. Both of you. I'm going to ask for your IDs one more time. If I don't get it from both of you, you're both going in handcuffs and you're both going to jail for obstruction.
All right, there we go. It's the officer ignorance entree right here. Is if you don't give me your ID so that I can issue you a trespass notice, you're going to jail for obstruction, which is just a really you can tell that an officer has not been properly trained when they follow that train of logic. It just doesn't make sense. And it's very stupid. And yes, as Peter says, now they have a claim.
It's very simple.
Hey, Justin. Glad you're here, man. Everyone, if you don't know the Random Patriot, go check him out. He's a great auditor, one of the best in the business right now. I highly recommend checking out his content. We actually collaborated on an investigative piece that may or may not be coming out. I don't even know. But we did meet, and we hung out for a long time, and we did a little bit of digging on something going on in Huntsville, Alabama. We'll see where that goes. But glad to have you here, Justin. Thanks for stopping by, dude.
What's your name and badge number, officer?
K9 Officer Reynolds, 577.
Oh, he said that proudly.
Serious.
No, you don't get to do that.
Get to do what? I was called here. I was flagged down by that female worker. I asked, do you want them criminally trespassed? She said yes. I don't care what she told you. It's all on body camera.
Even if that was true, even if that whole situation was true. Oh, Justin says that this was his hometown and that he spoke with the assistant chief about this after the incident, and he told me that the cop was talked to about this. Okay. All right. Well, at least he got talked to about it. I mean, that's the very least that should have happened. But are police obsessed with ID in hopes of a warrant to make any? Okay, sorry. Need to reread that. Are police obsessed with ID in hopes of a warrant to make any illegal detention retroactively justified? I don't think so, because you can't retroactively justify anything with the courts. That's not going to work. And you could, I think what you're trying to say here is, are they asking for ID knowing that they can't have it so that they can then lean into the obstruction charge or disorderly conduct or whatever? And yeah, I do think that's the case.
This guy's kind of aggro, man.
Rob says, having worked at a gas station for 16 years, it's weird for people to hang out at a gas station for half an hour, but I assure you it happens every day at every station. I actually worked at a gas station myself before I went to college for quite a while, and I have to agree. It is normal that people hang out at gas stations for a long time, but what I'm saying is, surely you got something better to do. I thought that then when I was working there. Like, why the hell are you hanging out at the gas station? Go do something productive, you know? Move on.
Yeah, I gave him my ID. But he comes in here talking like this the entire time.
God, his attitude and body language is so pretentious.
Went to the bathroom. She went in the store, got some coffees. I came out of the bathroom. As soon as he'd already made contact with her, I guess. As soon as I come
Oh, y'all think y'all know, you hear that? Y'all think y'all know the law and you don't. It's crazy how like much they talk about themselves. Bill says, I attract all the best people. Thank you, Bill. You're one of those people, so I could see why you'd say that.
I just pumped gas and came out of the bathroom. Like, and he's talking like he grabbed her.
Did you pass the bar? I really hate it when cops say that. Like, did you pass the bar? Dude, you didn't pass the bar either. You had 6 months of training. You had what easily any other person could get. And it's not even 6 months of training, because like a majority of that training is not spent on learning the law or the Constitution. I'm sure he probably has 2 weeks of training.
No, she tried to walk away. It's all on body
What's
cam.
all on body cam? Can I say it? Okay. So what?
Okay, but you tripped.
We don't even live here.
That is you walking away. And I
Okay,
told
so
you
could
not
you
to.
fill out your paperwork, please, and do what you have to do?
Tell me I'm doing my job.
I said, please. I asked you, please.
Stop and they just have to do it? Why? Why do you
Does Rodriguez versus U.S. apply to a non-traffic stop? Yep.
Okay, does Rodriguez v. U.S. apply to non-traffic stops? I believe it does. I'm almost certain that it does, because really the intent behind the case is that you can't prolong a stop for an unnecessary amount of time. And I don't think that that's exclusive to traffic stops. Although the case was exclusively about a traffic stop, and I don't think that they mentioned much. I'd have to read the case again. It's been a while. But they don't exclusively mention anything beyond a traffic stop. So it's hard to say if the application is like, I think though that you could argue that the intent is very clear with that case.
A reasonable amount of time to complete your...
How long do I have?
A reasonable amount of
So
time.
what is the reasonable amount?
Time that a reasonable officer would take to fill out your criminal
If
trespass.
y'all would have gave me your IDs.
There's no, okay, that little thing that he just put
Time that a reasonable officer would take.
in Arkansas, it's 15 minutes. No, that's not how that works. And it's not a state by state thing. The amount of time that a stop has to, that there's no set time limit on a stop. It's purely based on what the mission of that stop is. Are the cops trying to effectuate, issue a citation? Then that's the basis. That's the baseline for how long a stop should last. How long does it take a reasonable officer to complete the mission of writing a citation or doing an investigation? There have been cases that have been examined, and I believe I mentioned this in the book, where the police had detained people for up to 12 hours. And that was considered reasonable because of the circumstances that they were detained under. So there is no set timeline for how long you can be detained by the police. And this right here is certainly untrue.
To fill out your criminal trespass.
If y'all would have gave me your IDs in the first place, I would be done with this. But neither one of you did, and you're That's crazy.
If you would have just surrendered your rights to me in the first place, then none of this would have happened. That's what he's saying.
He's in the first place, I would be done with this, but neither one of you did, and you wanted to argue. That's crazy.
I argued with you for about 1 second.
By the way, Pariah, thank you for the kind words.
But your wife or girlfriend, she did not.
Oh, long beep.
I did. Trying to, but you talk over me on the radio. All I said was I'm sorry.
Okay, what?
Can you show them both criminally trespass from J Square? There you go. All right.
Did he even do anything with those IDs? What did he even do with the IDs? He just looked at them. I thought he needed to fill out some kind of paperwork or something. What the fuck is that?
Here, you'll go to jail for trespassing, okay? So don't come back here. Y'all have a good night. Be safe.
Wow, this gas station owner just...
I will say the same.
Okay.
Yeah, he radioed them. He radioed in the IDs, but that did. I mean, like that's not. That doesn't solve it. Like serve as an official trespass notice. Like I was under the impression that he wanted to document something. There was nothing documented there.
Okay. Have a good night.
So that guy said,
just get in your car and leave.
Yeah, at this point, look, if you ever find yourself in this moment right here, where they've told you to leave, you have the opportunity to leave, just do it. Just get in your fucking car and leave. Don't try to argue with them right now. Don't try to figure out the facts of the situation. Don't try to, dig a hole. It's not worth it. Just fucking get in your car and get out of there.
When you walked past me and you said, "Oh my God, you scared me." What the fuck was that about, huh?
I walked around the corner. You were right. I went to get a drink. Are you gonna let me talk, or are you gonna talk over me? Okay, leave.
I have something to say.
No, I don't want to hear it. Leave. Leave.
I assume you would have recognized.
I'm gonna ask you to leave one more time. Okay. Have a good night. Watch out for our cars when you back up.
Thomas says they can forward case notes to his cruiser. The officers will do that in order to avoid filling out everything themselves. That makes sense. I guess they could definitely have a system set up where they, do it remotely. Like, for example, they document it internally and don't actually give you any kind of like official paperwork. So I guess that could certainly be true. Once they demand you to leave, you have legal standing. You don't have to sit and argue with them. Exactly. Just leave. Don't get into a shouting match with them, because then they're just going to trump up some other bullshit like you're being disorderly, blah, blah, blah. We all know how that goes. He wants them to leave so badly after forcing them to stay until they provided their ID. Very true. Very true. Oh, the cover your ass monologue's coming up.
And then they hung out there for 30 minutes, and the worker pulled me in and said that she thought she was stealing and asked me to make contact with them and then asked them to be criminally trespassed. Neither one of them wanted to identify themselves, which they lawfully have to.
Why is he saying that to the... He said that to officers. You keep in mind, he's saying this to fellow officers, and he felt the need to say, which they lawfully have to, as if they don't know. That, I mean, come on. A little bit of projection going on.
Instruction because I asked like 10 times. All right. Yeah, you're right. It is.
Just
on,
leave.
get out of here.
Yes, leave.
Okay. Maybe they won't call the cops on you.
What the fuck kind of a thing to say is that? Maybe they won't call the cops on you. Like as if you're hoping that they do? Like what are you saying there? Jesus Christ, I can't listen to that compressor. Okay.
Drink. And what she's talking about is I came here to get a drink and I walked around the corner. And when I walked around the corner, she was right there and I said, oh, you scared me. And that was the only interaction I had with her.
See, now he's admitting that he was already at the gas station, had already seen them in a totally innocent capacity before he made contact with them, which justifies what she said at the beginning of the video, which was, you did not get a call here. And that was the whole point she was trying to make. And there he is admitting to it.
And I went and paid for my drink, and that woman was like, did you see a white female back there? And I was like, yeah. Well, she has like tattoos on her nose or something. She's like, I think she's stealing, but I haven't caught her. And I said, do you want me to go talk to them? And they were like, well, she's been walking around and grabbing drinks, and I'm worried that she's going to walk out and not pay for them. I was like, I can go talk to them. So they said...
So they all... Okay, so according to him and his recollection of events, he was only asked to go and speak to them, not to escalate the situation into a criminal trespass and, you know, all this. Like, it seemed like the way he's framing it is that he was asked to engage in a consensual encounter with these people.
Give me a minute, and they were going to look at the cameras, and I came out here and ran the tag, and then I come back, and I said, do you want me to talk to them? And she said, yeah. I said, okay. You want me to have them leave? And she said, yeah. Do you want them to criminally trespass? I said, yeah. And they were both just uncooperative the whole time. Both trying to talk over me the whole time. And they know
they're so used to lying that they just don't even think about it. Yeah. I mean, that's fair.
And tried to pull a U.S. versus Rodriguez Supreme Court case. Like, what does that have to do with me getting your identification right now so I can finish this?
What does the Supreme Court case have to do with me getting your ID right now?
You can go about your business. What does that have to do with getting your identification right now so I can finish this? You can go about your business.
Ah, he's like, hey, I can tell this officer is digging a giant legal hole for us right now. We better turn off our body cameras. Hey, be sure to mute this. He's saying a bunch of dumbass shit right now. That's what's going on here. Mute it. Mute it. This guy's retarded. Okay. Is there more to this? What's going on here? Is this... Did they pull him over again?
Without a purpose. Yeah.
Causing alarm.
Yeah, she said if he was stealing, or they were looking like they were stealing from that other store, that she doesn't want them on their property.
So they went across the street to the other gas station and then got kicked out of there for chilling in their car. Guys, at this point, Mark, Irina, go home. Clearly the cops are out to get you tonight. Just go home. This isn't worth it.
So, the owner over here wants you guys trespass as well on this property.
What the fuck? I guarantee you, like, it's not shown here, but like the Random Patriots saying they went across the street and trespassed them again. I'm sure that this was a product of the officers going in there and telling the gas station worker, hey, these people that are chilling right here just got kicked off of this other property. They said, Justin said the cops go tell the gas station across the street they were caught stealing. And so he trespassed them too. Yeah. I mean, yeah, look, my point is not that it's unlawful for a law enforcement officer to solicit a trespass. It's that it's going to be very hard to prove that the subjective intent was relevant to the actual trespass in court. But this is insane. To go out of your way to cross the street just to have these people trespass that were clearly not doing anything wrong. Yeah, and demanding to see their IDs for, I mean, like, the cop handled it so wrong. Yeah, imagine one man in Japan says, and now I need your IDs again. Yeah, they were never caught stealing. That's just bullshit. They were never even really suspected of stealing. They were accused of acting weird, which is what the gas station attendant said at the beginning of this encounter.
We didn't even go in the store.
Huh?
We didn't even go
I understand
in
that,
the
but
store.
you guys
I'm
are
just charging my phone, man.
sitting right here.
Come on.
You can pull up maps on your phone when it's charged. Your phone's on.
It just started, but it's got this much, and
I understand that, but your phone's plugged in, right?
If I run Google Maps, it will die. Just give me a few minutes. That's all I want, man. We're not doing anything bad.
Well, you guys remaining here on a property without a purpose, you're not in there at the
Shading
store.
Semantics. This is my second time streaming, I think.
In there, you guys didn't purchase coffee in there. She drank from the coffee and then refilled it.
Joanna says, leave the weirdos alone. Yes, please, leave the weirdos alone. And like Rojais is saying, you're just strengthening their case. That's all you're doing by continuing to bother them. Stop doing it.
He didn't let us fucking buy it.
Okay. No, they wanted you gone.
Okay.
No, I did not. I didn't drink the coffee and then refill it. I got 2 coffees.
It was too hot for her to hold on to. She drank it. Come on, man.
Okay, look, they watched the camera, and then that's why they called us back in there. And then they were contemplating pressing charges for theft of property.
They never said that. They never said that they wanted to press charges. As a matter of fact, the guy came out and said that he didn't think they were stealing. I mean, this cop is just making this shit up at this point.
But hang on. But I said, look, they're gone. They're not from here. It'd be better off if we just let them go, let them be, because...
Theft of property for what?
Because you drank the coffee.
You drank the coffees.
You can't drink it before. You can't drink it before you buy it. It's theft. No, it's theft. If you don't own that product yet.
You realize that every person in this
Is taking a sip of a coffee you intend to buy stealing? I don't think so. I don't think that constitutes theft. Because you have the intention of purchasing it. You don't actually commit the crime of stealing until you don't pay for the product that you have. Yeah, Bill says, I saved you from the crime I invented. Yep.
whole damn world does that.
Okay.
You do that.
Don't you test it to make sure you got it right?
Please tell me the truth now. You don't test it.
You have to purchase it before you can drink it.
Are you fucking
That's
joking?
how it is. No, I'm 100% serious. You have to.
Okay,
I don't think you've ever even contemplated
don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
That's theft. Not once.
We don't make the laws.
Yeah, you obviously don't make the laws. You don't know them either.
I don't believe that you actually respect every single law.
That you can have your opinion.
It's black and white.
Well, that's not a good argument, Arena. You don't, saying that it's impossible to follow the law is not a legitimate argument for not following the law. So don't do that. Don't say that.
You are right to your opinion. That's fine.
I just think that.
And I'm telling you, that's okay. That's fine.
I think that given that we were paying customers who bought gas.
Oh man, one man in Japan. That is a perfect analogy. Did you look at a magazine you didn't buy? That's theft. Give me your IDs again. You know, like imagine walking into a bookstore and picking up a book and starting to read it and then someone accusing you of stealing. That's ridiculous.
Went in and used the bathroom. It should be pretty obvious that we're going to
Okay, but y'all were doing something to freak them out, to ask me to have y'all leave.
You caused some type of an alarm. So.
I was leaving. I went to my car and they came back out to me. You don't have to believe that.
It's I talked about this in my last stream, Electric Eccentrics, that it seems like it's a requirement that you have forearm tattoos if you're a police officer. That's like, it must be written into a law somewhere. Because it's just, and it's always a We the People tattoo or a Punisher logo. And it's like, come on, guys. MTAC says, I used to work in a convenience store. You can't do anything until after they leave if they're in the store. They can eat anything, drink anything, but until they leave the store without paying, yeah. Makes total sense.
I don't care what y'all are doing.
1 minute.
What?
You walked in 1 minute after I got there.
Okay,
I walked in.
but if a worker if a worker wants somebody to leave at any point in time, you have to leave. If you do not leave, are you going to let me talk? Please let me talk.
Yes, go ahead, talk.
Okay, a worker wants somebody to leave. At any point in time, if they do not leave, they are trespassing. You are obligated by law to give your IDs. I should have arrested you, but I didn't, and they're surprised that I didn't.
Except that,
you want to...
One man in Japan says, here in Japan, people regularly go into convenience stores and do what they want. Do what they call takiyomi, which is reading manga without buying the magazine, and it's tolerated. I mean, yeah, it makes sense. I mean, you want people in your store at the end of the day, and if you're trying to kick people out for doing what they came to the store to do, you're only losing customers. There's only a downside to that.
I wanted to talk about case law. I am the case law guy, so let's hear it.
So nobody asked us to leave.
They asked me to have you leave.
See, just leave. Just leave. You're giving them all kinds of chances and excuses and opportunities for them to look in your car.
But at that point, you were not free to walk away from me, and I told you that.
Was she detained?
It seems like what's going on here is this cop wanted to solicit another trespass so that he could engage in another argument with these guys. It's like he's having fun just arguing with them.
Yes, because you were trespassing.
Dude,
I don't have to tell you you're detained.
Yes, you
Okay.
do actually.
No, I don't.
But if hang on, I don't want to get in a big row, but if they want us to leave,
Oh God, the audio's so out of sync.
or they
Why would I want you to leave?
they want us to leave, it's their business.
Yes.
But you can be a representative of them because
Yes.
you're a law enforcement officer.
Correct.
So they want us to leave. Well, we're not trespassing until we refuse to leave. Well, we're in.
I'm sure there's Joanna says, I didn't like the way they said they're not from here. It sounds like they have some prejudice. Is this a small town? I imagine that there aren't very many big towns in Arkansas. So if Justin is still here, maybe he can fill you in on how big this town is, considering that it's his hometown. But I suspect that, yeah, this is probably a pretty small town with like an interstate running through it or something like that.
We were in the process of leaving. That's complying.
The thing is that they wanted you criminally trespassed, which means at that point we have to identify you.
Don't we have to do something? Criminally trespassing?
No.
It's called trespassing. You're in a place where you're unwanted.
Only if we don't leave.
Yes, we're not
You
trespassing.
gotta
doesn't
give us
matter.
a chance
Okay,
to leave.
Justin says 70,000 people in this town. So it's moderately, I mean, I wouldn't say it's a small town. My hometown has a population of like 25,000. So that's a small town. I would say anything under 30,000 is pretty small town. 70,000 is like a moderate size. Show Me State News says they absolutely love to argue with you to keep you talking, to incriminate yourself. Yes, exactly. That's why you just stop talking and leave.
You're doing the same thing right here, so will y'all please leave it alone?
Yeah.
Okay. Y'all have a good day.
All right, that's the end of that video. They moved along, I suppose. Let's see. Let's think back on this. What happened? So the Rodriguez case was invoked, which could have been relevant depending on the circumstances. I don't think that they were actually detained for a prolonged amount of time, but I think the detainment itself is very questionable. And then the fact that he like forced them to give their ID for a trespass warning is also, you know, in my opinion, a constitutional violation. So there's that. All right, now the dreaded rabble rouser. I think I saw you in the comments earlier, and he actually sent me 1, 2, 3 different videos of the same channel. I'm not sure if this is the same guy, but they do have the same icon. But it appears, I believe that this is 2 separate channels. No, it's not. Okay, he just has a different handle. Now he sent me 3 different ones that I'm guessing are all 3 different interactions. Let's see, we got May 1st, 2024. Don't have a date on that one. And then we got February 17th, 25. Play the No Kings arrest first. Okay, can do that. So first of all, let me just give a little context for people who may not understand, you know, what's happening here. There's been a lot of protests lately about specifically regarding ICE and Donald Trump in general. And the No Kings protest is essentially my understanding of it anyway. And granted, I haven't done a huge dive into this. You know, I don't really explore political topics with the same rigor as I would say, you know, any of the like actual law. But from my understanding, the No Kings protest is against Donald Trump and essentially saying that he's creating a monarchy, you know, in the way that he's operating as the president right now. I'm not going to comment on whether or not I, you know, necessarily believe that, but I do think that people have a right to protest. Abstract Echo says it's insane out here in LA. It's like the government has declared war on the people. And honestly, that has been my perspective on it as well, as far as how law enforcement officers are acting. It does seem like there has been, as a matter of fact, I thought about making an entire video talking about how bad cops are at riot control. Because, you know, obviously we've had a lot of riots over the past 5 years for various reasons. And there's never been a situation where I think that the cops handled it appropriately and did what they were supposed to do. So I won't be surprised if that's what we see in this video. Cops are really bad at crowd control. And I don't know how much training they get for that, but it should definitely be more. Because it's so bad. When you're a hammer, all you see is nails. That is very true. Did Brian or Freeman cover these videos? Very possibly. I honestly don't watch a whole lot of other creators because I'm so busy watching original sources for police body camera. I don't really get to watch the time to watch a lot of commentary on it. So it's very possible. Rojai says we have the right to protest, but the right to protest legally, which is true. But at the same time, you know, let me just swap over to the bigger cam. Here you go. At the same time, where the legality is drawn is relatively clear and objective in the law. But, you know, the thing about it is like protests are supposed to incite some degree of revolution. I think that's their intention. You know, and like, for example, the argument that I think is the most prevalent when you're talking about this stuff is, you know, we wouldn't even have America if it wasn't for violent protests. You know, our country was literally established through violent protests. So I think there's an argument to be made, at least, that sometimes violent protests is called for. Is it legal? No. Definitely not. There's almost no situation where that would be considered legal. But is it called for? Is it ethical? Is it like what society demands? That's a different that's a different story, because oftentimes the law does not reflect the demand of the people that it's supposed to serve. So when you have a major problem like that, how do you fix that? Well, there's no legal way to go about. I mean, sure, you could say that you should just be civil and, you know, go through the trains of, or the channels of change that we typically have. But at the same time, we see how that, you see the effect of that. I mean, look at the systems that we have that people have been being civilly disobedient against for a long time, like insurance industries, you know, lots of different places. And yeah, counterpoint, stating semantics, is saying that the counterpoint is that most successful civil rights campaigns in the last 200 years were both non-violent, and that he's referring to Gandhi and MLK, which is true to a degree. They weren't necessarily non-violent. They just weren't violent on the behalf of the protesters. But I can see a situation where we live in this majority rules society where, you know, there may be a situation where people do believe that violence is called for. So I'm just going to say that, you know, I have no comment on whether or not this protest is legitimate. I just think, as a personal overall philosophy, that sometimes there will be situations where violence is a part of a legitimate protest. And I'll just leave it at that. And we can get back into this video now. All right.
All right, up here at the Kansas State Capitol building in Topeka, Kansas, there's a No Kings rally protest going on here today. And so me and Michael are up here. Michael Spellman, he's got his press pass on him. Got a couple of messages here. First one says, "Deport feminist bitches first."
Whoa. Oh, Jesus. All right. That's a strong message.
And illegals drain American resources.
Okay. Well, we know whose side he's on now.
We'll see how this goes here. You know how these motherfuckers are. You know how these motherfuckers are.
All right, let's get to the good stuff here.
Go up there. Out.
Okay, here we go. The No Kings protest is set to bring busloads of Kansans to Topeka in a coordinated national demonstration. So I'm assuming this was a highly planned thing by some kind of organization, if they're bringing in busloads of people. It says, multiple sources confirmed this is Topeka, that buses are carrying participants from across Kansas en route to the Capitol, with plans to rally in protest of what organizers describe as a growing culture of authoritarianism in the United States. Yes, I can raise the video volume.
We'll go from there.
This video is kind of quiet, though, for now. Okay, we're getting to the protest.
Just kind of look around here a little bit.
You know this sign right here is about to piss off all of these people. There's no way it's not going to. This is a vape. A nicotine vape. I'm gonna 2x this until we get to some action here. So he's been standing here for several seconds now. Dr. Justin Spees, doctor. Dr. Justin, what do you have a degree in? I see you're in the comments here, or in the chat. Thank you, Pariah, for not judging me. Okay, so I just want to point out that there's some kind of clear organization going on here. This person is an event sponsor, as indicated by the Dr. Justin here. Spies? So that makes me think that this is like a legitimate organized protest. Did they, so it makes me wonder if they had a permit for this. He has a PhD. This individual, Justin Spies? I'm going to say Spies. That's what it looks like to me. Has a PhD in lifespan human development from Kansas State University. So this is a PhD educated individual, just so you guys know. This is not a fake title, according to him. There was national, my mod's saying that there was national coordination on No Kings protests to secure permits generally. So they very well could have had a permit for this.
I used to be a bigot too. Do you need a mom hug? Do you need a mom hug?
You're a mom?
Yeah, I'm a mom.
You look like a guy.
Huh?
You look like a guy.
Oh, I do.
That was kind of mean.
You'll need to move out to the sidewalk.
Says who?
Says me, because they have a permit and you are against their cause. So
Okay, the cop just told him they have a permit. So what that means is this is no longer a traditional public forum. You don't have a right to exercise free speech here, especially if it's counter to what this message is. Usually when there's a permit granted for an exercise of free speech, the whole point of that permit is to avoid conflict with conflicting views. So they designate spaces where other, counter protesters can be at. And this is not a violation of the First Amendment. This is not, against your free speech. This is just how we have free speech in an organized way. So if we just let people, run around and act crazy during, organized protests, obviously that's going to create very, I'm wrong about that. Okay. Maybe I am. Of course, this is a cursory explanation, but I'd love to read the case law on that because it's my understanding, at least as a cursory understanding, that if you get a permit for a free speech demonstration, that I'm not saying that it's a private place now by any means. This is still a public forum, but the analysis of that forum does change depending on the status of that forum. If it is being used for a particular purpose, then it can change how the courts view that. That's my point.
No, they don't have a permit for that.
Yes, they do.
They don't have control over this.
Yes, they
There is no agreement between the state of Kansas and the event sponsor that grants the sponsor authority to control access to the state capitol grounds. Yes, it's not necessarily, okay. Additionally, see Startzel versus City of Philadelphia. We can look that up. Let me probably just do Philly. Oh wait, did I spell that wrong? Startzel. I guess I gotta spell it out. Oh my God, come on. Let's see here. The parties to the events surrounding October 2004 outfits have different and indeed contrary views of the protections the First Amendment affords to organizers of events that generate counter-protests and the right of those counter-protesters. Let me see, what court is this? Okay, this is a Third Circuit appeals case. So bear in mind that this ruling only applies in this circuit. So let's see. The particular event brought before us was on October 10th, 2004. It was organized by Philly Pride. Okay, so it was some kind of gay event. Like it was some kind of not a homosexual event protest. The counter-protesters were members of Repent America, led by Michael Markovich, who entered the area assigned to Outfest with large signs, bullhorns, and musical instruments seeking to proclaim their message that homosexuality is a sin. When they disobeyed the police directive to move, they were arrested, and they filed suit alleging federal and state claims. So let's see what they said. Appellants believe that, I guess we don't really have to go through all the facts. Kind of really just want the discussion. 3 considerations underline any First Amendment analysis. Yeah, of course, whether the speech is protected, whether it's in a traditional public forum or some other forum, and whether the government's justification for exclusions from the relevant forum satisfy the requisite standard. So the first 2 issues are not at issue in this case, the first 2 considerations. So they're saying whether the speech was protected and the nature of the forum are not an issue with this. The government cannot regulate speech because of its message. If we're supposed to have a marketplace of ideas, and considering the extent to which the government may restrict or regulate expressive activity in a public forum, a distinction must be drawn between content-based and content-neutral. Yeah, we know that. It has to be content-neutral, or else it's viewpoint discrimination. Let's see. When the government... Sorry, my daughter is staring at me through my door. Anyway, so whether they had a right to exclude, that's what we're really looking at here, huh? Sorry, I'm not paying attention to the chat. I should be reading this. What type of forum is it? Like I said, it's still an open public forum. It's just that the way that the forum is treated has changed. How is standing silently an incitement? Well, when you're holding signs that are critical of the other person's perspective, I would say that's pretty insightful. I know it doesn't change the forum status, but does it change the forum analysis is the question. And we're about to find out right now anyway. It has been Philly Pride's position that because it had a city permit... Sorry, let me find my phone really quick. Sorry. I'm going to play this video for a second. Just give me 1 second. Oh, not this one. We'll come back to this.
This is our police officer, and you're going to respect him.
This is a traditional public.
You're going to respect our law enforcement.
They do not.
Okay, never mind. All right, let's see here. Where were we? Oh, yeah, we're looking at this. Okay, so it's their perspective that they have a right to exclude certain people from the event who hold contrary antagonistic viewpoints. There's language in the district court's opinion that supports that position. The court stated that once the city issued a permit, it was empowered to enforce the permit by excluding persons expressing contrary messages. So this was a reversal, I'm assuming, is coming of that particular opinion. The authorities cited that the district court do not support that broad proposition, nor does the Supreme Court opinion relied on by all the parties. My colleague, in his concurrence, suggests that we believe that the police, in effect, issued an exclusive permit to Outfest supporters. As we can make clear, however, that is not the holding of the position. Interesting. So, Massachusetts state courts have interpreted the state's public accommodation law to require that this group, which is a private group, include among the marchers contingent from an organization of openly gay, lesbian, and bisexual individuals of Irish heritage. That's such a specific group. The Supreme Court, in a unanimous opinion, held that the state Supreme Judicial Court's decision violated the parade organizers' First Amendment right of autonomy and the right to control one's own speech. The court held that the First Amendment protected the council's decision to exclude a message it did not like from communication it chose to make. The court held that to compel organizers of the parade to include a GLIB or any other group that expressed a message that the organizers did agree with would be essentially require them to alter the expressive content of the parade. And that requirement would violate the fundamental rule of free speech. But apparently this is not the case that is appropriate here. Yeah, here, I got you. There we go. So what they're saying is that, or what the appellate court's saying is that the previous court looked at this Hurley case to make the determination of whether or not this would violate free speech. And the court is saying this case is not the appropriate case to look at for this, to determine the jurisprudence associated with this. So it disallowed compelled participatory speech like a composer and the expressive units of the parade from potential participants. And though the score may not produce a particularized message, each contingent's expression in their eyes comports with what merits a celebration on that day. So basically they're drawing an analogy to a, like a composer and all the people who are participating in creating that song. What the Hurley case was saying is if you're not a part of the choir, you don't get to come in and sing. But Hurley is distinguishable from the situation presented here, as was the decision in Turner. I don't know what case that is that they're referring to. So Turner upheld regulations that required cable operators to set aside channels for designated broadcast signals because cable had long been served as a conduit for broadcast signals. Okay. Not sure. I don't see how that would be relevant to this. Okay, they just keep talking about how Hurley does not apply. Okay, now we're in the Hague case. I'm kind of familiar with this case, which is that streets. It basically defined what is a traditional public forum. So those of our sister circuits that have on occasion had to argue the issue agree. The Court of Appeals from the Ninth Circuit held that a municipal policy that allowed permit holders sponsoring an event in a public forum to exclude individuals who express messages which the permit holder disagrees with was inconsistent with the First Amendment. Interesting. Starting to fall into Dr. Spy's favor here. The court held that the city could not enjoin an evangelical Christian from wearing signs or passing out pamphlets at a permitted event in a public location, and it rejected the city's argument that Hurley allowed such exclusions, noted that the plaintiffs sought, quote, only to be heard, not to have his speech included or possibly confused with others. Yeah, and that's a legitimate argument to make against the Hurley case being applicable to this situation. Let's see. The court held that the city's policy is not a reasonable time, place, or manner regulation of public space because even assuming it was content neutral and supported by a significant government interest, the policy of allowing permittees to unfettered discretion to use exclusive private citizens and or a basis is narrowly tailored to the city's legitimate interest in protecting the permittees, their rights under Hurley. Okay. That's interesting. Because Boom is right, Dr. Spees. Let's see. The court held that the city could not prevent plaintiff who attended a permitted arts festival from walking through the festival grounds wearing a sign bearing a religious message. The court distinguished Hurley on the basis of that parks like that one did not seek inclusion of the speech in another group, but was merely another attendee. Yeah, now that I'm thinking about it, parsing this out, just like from a practical perspective, it makes sense that you wouldn't be able to. I'm kind of going against everything I said at the beginning of this, but I mean, you got to follow the logic. It makes sense that you wouldn't be able to just exclude people for no reason. Beyond them wanting to blend in and try to alter the message that you're trying to send, which I think is like the actual restriction here. So if you're not saying I'm a part of this protest and this is my message too, and then, probably causing some kind of disagreement based on that, it seems like you're right. Of course, this kind of analysis requires a lot more than just looking at one, Third Circuit case. We'd have to obviously take in a whole spectrum of ideas and cases and see how that applies. But yeah, I mean, based on this case, that's pretty damning evidence in my opinion that you're right. I'm going to look over this second case later, but I'm also just going to take your word for it. Yeah, no, I would say that Dr. Spees, what is happening to you, or at least what was shown at the beginning of this video and what appears to be about to happen, does seem counter to the Startzel case. Does circuit matter? It certainly does. It certainly does matter. There are different circuits for a reason, and that's because the law needs to reflect the demands of a locality. That's why we have laws that are, all the way down to the local level. And that's why they can be changed and manipulated. Of course, we do have the fundamental law, the Constitution, that dictates all of the other laws, but there's a reason that we have this, really tiered system of how big does the government get and what does it get to say. And it works best at the local level, in my opinion. That's where the people's viewpoints and what they actually want are most reflected, I would say. Yeah, Dr. Spees, no problem, dude. Like I said, I'm just following the logic here. This is not an exhaustive review or anything like that. Let's see. I know, Joanna says, I know there's a big permitting issues surrounding separate opposing viewpoints at a protest because of Charlottesville. Could someone explain how this works with the First Amendment? Well, I don't think, I'll say this. I'll give you a practical example. I don't think that because someone else is saying something that you then shouldn't be able to say something as well. So I think that's the practical nuance that's kind of at play here. In a way that you could see this in a really simple way. One man in Japan asked if I got a JD at some point. No, I don't have a law degree in any capacity. I have a degree in journalism, and I worked in the field of journalism for a while. But that's the extent of my credentials. I'm just a guy on YouTube. I do work with an attorney. So when I develop stuff for ATA, it's a collaborative effort. It's not just me anymore. For the first 2 years, it was just me. And I was doing all the research and all that, but it's not just me. I have an attorney that works with me that helps me develop the scripts and make sure that they're legally accurate, along with my own assessments. And then I also have a video editor, and so it's not like it's a one-man team. Not anymore, at least. It doesn't make sense to be, because it needs to be, credible. But anyway, let's get back into this and see what happens to Dr. Spies.
Do not have access to, they do not have control over this.
Everyone make a wall.
They do not have.
What's going on here?
They do not control this.
I have someone needs to be removed from the property.
Removed in what way?
They're going to remove.
In what way?
They have a permit that takes the whole south side of the grassy area.
No, they don't have control of it. This is public property. They don't control this.
If you do not move, you'll be cited for criminal trespass.
And what will happen?
You'll be cited for criminal trespass.
Will I be arrested?
You'll be given a citation.
Okay. What is the point of citing someone for trespassing? Like, what does that accomplish? Like, they're still trespassing after you issue the citation. Like, what the fuck does that do? It's Show Me State News says, the local level, we have good old boy system in place here. All local laws in multiple counties and neighboring states all work together against the people. No, don't get me wrong. I do also believe that the local level is where corruption can most easily happen. And that's certainly the case. But I also believe that that is also the venue through which the will of the people is most oftenly expressed. Oftenly.
I'm not leaving.
No, you're absolutely right.
Nope. Nope.
Yeah, no problem.
Hey, Michael, they're trying to get me out of here on a trespass.
Say again?
Trespass.
Remove him for trespass.
So how do you remove somebody from the state capitol grounds for trespass?
Because these people here have a permit and he does not go along
No,
with it.
they don't have a permit. They don't
have
have control of this
They
ground.
have control of
No,
this
they
area.
don't. No, they don't.
It's like Kansas regulations. They do have that.
No, they do not. Nope. Not leaving. Nope. I'm not leaving. They do not have control of this. This is public ground. No, they do not. No, they do. Their signing to have their rally here does not give them control over the ground. No, it does not.
And keep in mind, people, we just looked at the case law, at least for the Third Circuit on this, and it's pretty clear that what Justin's doing here is protected. I'm just saying that with a cursory overview of this, of course, but he does provide some more information here for anyone who wants to dig deeper into that.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. Nope. No, I did learn it last time, and I ain't going nowhere because I learned it.
You didn't learn it.
Or shit, I didn't. I ain't fucking leaving.
Are police officers allowed to establish reasonable buffer zones between protesters and counter-protesters during organized events? Definitely, especially depending on the circumstance. Like if it's getting out of control and there's violent threats being made, of course, their job is to, not allow that to happen.
Needs to be removed.
Nope. This is public grounds, man.
Public ground.
This is nope, no, it is not.
I'm going to give you the last warning to leave on your own, or they're going to escort you off property.
I'm not being escorted out of here.
Escort him out.
I'm not
Sign
leaving.
him for criminal trespass.
I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving. Get your hands off me. I'm not fucking leaving. I'm not fucking leaving. Am I under arrest? Am I under arrest?
Think about this, what these people are celebrating right now. And I get it. Look, you have political ideas and you think that things are wrong and fucked up with the other side, but don't celebrate someone being arrested. That's not, like, what? Why would you celebrate that? Especially for just making a point, like expressing an opinion. Like, why would you celebrate that? That's not a call for celebration. That's ridiculous.
Hey!
Keep in mind that this is probably the same group of people that were, calling for the disbanding of all police at one point. That's another thing to point out.
Michael, will you take my phone, brother? Michael, will you take my phone, brother? Michael, will you take my phone, brother?
I'll take his things.
Okay. Back up real quick.
You want him to take your phone?
That's a violation of my First Amendment rights.
Shout out to Lawrence Accountability for filming this after Justin got put on the ground here.
To freedom of press, free speech.
It's property evidence.
Evidence now. Fair enough.
The cops are way too fucking tight.
Well, they wouldn't be tight if you actually...
Horse fucking shit they wouldn't do. Horse fucking shit they wouldn't do. I didn't do a fucking thing.
You try to be nice? Go fuck yourself. Go fuck yourself.
Oh, he's mad now. Understandably so. Yeah, and Justin said it beautifully right here in the chat, protesting authoritarianism but cheering for authoritarianism. Right there in front of them. That's exactly what they're doing. That's kind of fucking ridiculous and hypocritical.
This is unconstitutional. I have a fucking right to stand here just like every other motherfucker does.
No, you cannot, motherfucker. No, you cannot. I can hardly even move my wrist. Hey, he didn't fucking check, man. He didn't fucking check.
You motherfuckers fucked up, man. This is a First Amendment protected activity, just like every motherfucker.
This is disgusting that they're celebrating that.
You fucked up, bitch. You fucked up too, motherfucker. You fucking know it. You're gonna find yourself in a motherfucking lawsuit. You fucking know it, bitch.
Okay, look. I want to say this for anyone else who finds themselves in this situation. And Justin, don't take this as a criticism because you're free to say whatever you want. You know what I'm saying? And this is something I talk about a lot on ATA. And this is a point I think needs clarification for people who just don't watch a lot of ATA. When I tell people, when I say and I grade negatively certain people who say things that are, you know, offensive during an arrest or during a situation where they're clearly being like unlawfully arrested or having their constitutional rights violated. The reason I do that is I'm not saying that you can't say those things or that it's wrong, that it is wrong for you to say those things. It's not wrong for you to call these cops motherfuckers and tell them that they're about to get the shit suit out of them. That's totally fair and it is protected speech. But what the point I try to make with that is that you have to bear in mind that there's a chance that what you're saying will be viewed in context with the rest of the interaction. And that could just piss off a jury. You know what I'm saying? Like the people who make up a jury are regular ass people. And a lot of times they're highly vetted people to achieve a specific outcome. And convincing them one way or another may take only one wrong thing. You know, like, and bear in mind, like I said, these are normal, regular people. So you're just dealing with average motherfuckers who will look at this and think, oh, what an asshole that guy was. I'm definitely not going to grant him $50 million for this claim. That's my point, is that practically speaking, you know, cussing out the cops is totally fine. It's totally lawful. But when you have people who are not exposed to the problems that we have with policing, who have no idea that this world even exists, and yet they end up on a jury trying to make, you know, delineations about where free speech begins and ends, this is not going to be a very convincing image to project to them. That's my point, is that it's strictly a practical thing to measure yourself when you're being arrested by the cops so that you can make them look as bad as you possibly can, while also maintaining your own, innocence. So just something to consider, that what you say will be brought into an official record and seen by someone in the courts somewhere along the way. And that just offers an opportunity for them to be biased against you in some capacity. So when I say that, I'm just taking in the practical nuances and the human elements of the legal system and giving it, that advice based on that.
We asked you to leave.
You didn't leave.
Nope, I don't have to fucking leave, bitch. I don't have to fucking leave. That's what makes it unconstitutional. And these cuffs are still way too fucking tight, and you did not fucking check it. You did not fucking check it.
You want them in mine or yours?
I don't care.
It's like they
I
were
want you to
tight.
check these fucking cuffs, man. They are too tight. I'm telling you right now, they're too fucking tight. And this is gonna start getting in. There's no reason why you can't do it right now, motherfucker.
Can we get over here away from everybody and then
You tell me, bitch. I'm in your fucking custody, motherfucker. Can we? Yeah, it's real.
Yeah. I gotta say though, I love it. Like I love it when people talk like this, and it makes me laugh, and I find it very amusing. Is it the best thing for your case? Probably not, but is it good entertainment? Definitely.
Easy for you to fucking say when these cuffs ain't on your fucking wrist, bitch, and you know they're fucking tight, and I've been telling you since over there.
And I told you on the steps. I checked it.
You did not fucking check these things, man. I can't.
I just want to see it. Like, are they just gonna lead him off? Like, what's gonna happen here? Oh, they did. Are they actually?
Well, turn it on.
What are you laughing about? The car's hot as fuck. I don't know if you're getting. I don't know if you're fucking getting in. I'm asking you a question. I'm asking you a legitimate question. You gonna fucking laugh? I don't have to answer your fucking questions, motherfucker. What the fuck is your problem, bitch? Cause you're fat fuck. Yeah, I'm not gonna take my stuff, man.
That's hilarious. The shit talking is real.
He wants all that stuff to be given to you.
Okay.
So were you arrested, Justin? Like, what happened after this? I'm assuming it looks like the rest of this wasn't your footage.
How in the world would I drink it? 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 Am I being difficult? I'm asking you a fuck.
Okay. Fellas, hoping somebody can help me understand how you guys can trespass somebody off of the traditional public
Yeah,
square
yeah,
here
okay,
in
he was
Capitol.
taken to
Well,
jail.
I'll explain it to you, please.
All right. Yeah, I don't know. I think it'd be interesting to know if Justin has filed a case regarding this. Because I would love to follow that and see where it goes. And this happened in Kansas. What circuit is Kansas in? 10th Circuit. So for those of you who may not know about this, these are the different circuits of the United States. And when we were talking earlier, we were talking about the 3rd Circuit. This case here that we were talking about, it only applies to Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Delaware. That's the 3rd Circuit. All right. This happened in the 10th Circuit, which includes Utah, Wyoming, Colorado, New Mexico, Kansas, and Oklahoma. And now, I was saying earlier that does the circuit matter? Yes, it matters because, you know, what applies in one doesn't necessarily apply to the other, and that's largely dictated by how circuit courts rule on things, unless the Supreme Court issues a ruling that, you know, is over those. So what happens in the 3rd Circuit may not necessarily apply in the 10th Circuit, but these circuits often refer to each other's decisions to make their own decisions. I'd like to see a case from the 10th Circuit specifically that sort of outlines the same principles as what's in the Startzel case from the 3rd Circuit, because I think that would be a much stronger argument to make. And maybe Justin has provided that in his video, but yeah, so that was my point, is that what happens here doesn't necessarily apply over here unless they specifically say it does. All right, I think we're good on this video. We pretty much get the gist of it. I honestly, just from a cursory reading, it seems like this was not a lawful arrest. But again, you really need to dig into the 10th Circuit in particular regarding this, because it's clear that the Supreme Court hasn't made a ruling on this type of issue, or else this case wouldn't exist. There wouldn't be them trying to parse out what the the Hurley case meant in that context. Let's see. We got 2 more of Justin, but I don't think I have enough time to jump into both of those just yet. I planned on ending this live in probably 5 or 10 minutes, so just hop on the face cam here for a second and talk to you guys for a moment. All right, let's see. Chance Wooldridge says some female conservative YouTube journalist has been going through this exact thing, fighting farmers markets. Yeah, I covered that. That you're talking about Caitlin Bennett, and that was a farmers market, which is a totally different type of event. You know, and the reason I was under the impression that there might be some restrictions is not because of is specifically because of the type of event and the speech that's attempting to be conveyed. But obviously that was a misinterpretation on my part, according to the Startzel case anyway. Let's see. Yeah, no, for Caitlin Bennett's case, where she was like she was officially trespassed from a farmer's market that basically had the same kind of principles, except it was purely like a commercial event. It wasn't like a demonstration, which I was under the impression that might change the analysis of the forum. But the Startzel case here says that that's not the case. I knew for sure that, you know, there's no way that just a farmer's market, a commercial event being held on private or public property would change the forum analysis for that. But it's a little more tricky, I think, when you get into speech, or at least I was under that impression. Pariah says, have you seen the recent video mashup between Honor Your Oath and James Madison with the lady that lies about Jeff asking for money and James is undercover? I have not seen that, but I'm sure we can take a look at that next time I go live. Yeah, and that's another thing. Thank you for pointing that out, Lucid, is that ultimately in Caitlin's case, the trespass was rescinded, which honestly was probably just a play to try to save face, because she already had grounds for a lawsuit at that point. Ben asks for more Second Amendment videos, please. I have one queued up, and so next time we're gonna cover a Second Amendment video. Could I get you to look at this pedo cop Mark Strout in Pittsfield, Massachusetts? Maybe after the stream if we could chat. Honestly, that's not my wheelhouse, man. I don't investigate those kind of allegations. I'm purely looking at misconduct. Yeah, they still removed her. They did remove her. They did not win. I wouldn't say that they won. They got a temporary win, but then they just rescinded the trespass and backed out. Caitlin's case was a traditional public forum as well. I agree. I was trying to think of that video from the farmer's market. Yeah, go check it out on Caitlin's channel. I give it like a little breakdown about, how forum analysis applies in that situation. But you should give your views to the original uploader, honestly. I think you should cover some more of Professional Douche's videos. Yeah, Michael is very funny, and his content is hilarious, and the way he trolls people is very funny as well. But honestly, now that I'm thinking about it, I think that maybe the Startzel or the Hurley case might actually apply to him, because what he does oftentimes is actually try to blend in with those people and like become part of their message. which I think it would be wrong. One man in Japan says, I'm glad to live in a country where cops see themselves as civil servants and don't look to bust people or abuse their authority. So you think that the cops in Japan are generally good? There's not a cultural or there is a cultural distinction from the ones in America? That's interesting. Because I read somewhere that Japan has like a 99% conviction rate, which is kind of insane. So, I mean, that doesn't really say much about the police officers, I guess, as much as it does about the legal system, but that's interesting. Peter says, I'm not a big fan of exactly that video since JMA fake alliance with her position. He does great work. I'm assuming you're referring to that James Freeman video or the... Fuck, I don't know what you're talking about. When is the next live? Probably, let's see. I'm going to try to start doing this twice a week because, like I said, it's a pretty easy way to make content, and it like, you know, really gives you guys an opportunity to see who I am as a person and how I behave in real life and not just reading a script on a camera. And I want that. I want that for you. I want that for me. I mean, I'd like to have a personal relationship with this audience. So the next stream will probably be Friday, Thursday or Friday. I'm going to try a later stream next time. This time was kind of like a 2 to 5 time slot. Next time I'm going to try a 5 to 8, see if people prefer to watch it at night or more like kind of in the middle of the day. Yeah. Thank you guys for being here. I appreciate you guys checking it out while it was live. I hope you'll take the time to check out the videos we make out of this live and, you know, spread them to other people. And thank you guys for submitting your videos for me to check out, especially to Justin, because he had to be patient with me today to let me work around my own mental gymnastics and get to, you know, what the case law actually says. And in this case, it was in his favor. Yeah, thank you guys. Thank you guys so much for being part of this. It's 7 a.m. right now. So, to answer my question from before about Japan's police officers, one man in Japan says, you don't want to get busted. You're likely to be jailed, but the cops aren't out to nail you. I have a personal example, but it'd take a while, and it'd be boring to type here. I understand. Well, that's cool. That's an interesting perspective. I would like it if our police officers were more like that, but we're in America, not Japan. Unfortunately. Oh yeah, dreaded rabble rouser. Feel free to do, you know, I reviewed your content on here. It would be totally unfair for me, Justin, to say that you couldn't do the same. So yes, feel free. I will not copyright strike you. I don't copyright strike people anyway. So feel free to re-upload it, my brother. Of course, Alamander, and you know, although we may have some disagreements about what happened with your interaction, you know, that's no judgment on your character whatsoever. I'm glad you sent it in and let me take a look at it. I really appreciate that. It's more about the people than the officers in Japan. And yeah, I was kind of like, my mind was going there, but I feel like that's such a long conversation. I don't want to tip into that, but I do think, I'll just say this, that there is a very strong cultural distinction between, you know, how things operate in Japan and how they do here. I'm not going to go further than that right now because that's a long conversation to have, but all right, guys, I think I'm going to wrap it up here. I really appreciate you being here once again. I would love it if you guys came back for the next live. I'll just go ahead and say I'm going to do it on Friday at 5 p.m. Central Time to around 8 p.m. So I hope to see you there. I appreciate you stopping by, and we'll see you in the